Hello, everybody. Thank you, Councilmember Adams, for reminding me what time it was. No, it's great. I appreciate your help. We do like to start our meetings in time, and we like to be efficient for everybody. So I want to welcome everyone to our City Council meeting for Thursday, October 16th, 2025. We're glad to have everybody here. The opening will be provided by Councilmember John Adams, who will then lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and we'll go from there.
Sweet. Hey, thank you so much, Mayor, and sorry about the announcement, but hey, we're on time at 7 o'clock. Welcome to City Council meeting tonight. We're so happy that everybody's here. We're happy to see a crowd, which is always fabulous. Tribalism is an interesting thing. I was just talking to Councilmember Oakes about the recent developments with Israel and the Gaza Strip, of course, and the Palestinians. And one of my comments to him was, it's just so interesting at some point in time that people wouldn't think peace is so much more beneficial to a country's finances, to everything. And yet the tribalism is deep-rooted. We have a game coming up here on Saturday that exemplifies this tribalism. I had my son, I remember coming home from elementary school, tears in his eyes, and he took off his University of Utah sweatshirt and he threw it down. He said, "I'm never wearing this sweatshirt ever again, Dad." And I said, "What's wrong, bud?" And he's like, "Oh, these kids just kept saying to me, you suck, Utah sucks, you suck." And he's like, "I don't know why they would say that. Grandma and Grandpa gave me this sweatshirt." And yet it's interesting. They've done studies about how Michigan fans can't see a certain color without getting their blood boiling a little bit. They can't even have jackets that are that color. And yeah, I'll admit that I usually won't buy something that's blue. I usually buy something that's red. I'm trying to be better about that. I'm trying not to be as tribalistic, and I'm trying to accept the fact that we should all be really kind to each other. So if BYU wins, I'll wear a BYU tie. Actually, no, if Utah wins, I'll wear a BYU tie. But if BYU wins, Perry's going to wear a Utah tie to church. With that, I think I'll just encourage all of us to use our words and be kind and try and avoid being too tribalistic. I'd like to say a prayer and then do the Pledge of Allegiance. Our Heavenly Father, we come before Thee at this time with gratitude in our hearts that we live in such an incredible city, that we have such awesome leaders, an incredible mayor, that we have amazing city staff, and mostly that we're able to live in a free country. We're able to share our opinions and our views. We're so thankful for the moisture that we've received lately, and thankful for the chance that we have to enjoy looking at the beauty of Thy creation. We pray tonight that we can be civil, that we can work as a community and as legislators to find the best possible path for all the decisions dealing with our city in this great country. I ask these things and ask for all of those in our city or within my voice that they might be in good health, watched over and protected. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Adams. The first item on our agenda is the second is called Call to the Public. We don't have anyone signed up to speak during Calls to the Public, and so we'll move on to our presentations and awards. Just a couple of housekeeping items that I like to kind of remind people, especially those who are new to our council meeting. We love the fact that people are here. We do expect everyone, us included, to be respectful. So please, when we move forward with our meeting, don't boo, don't applaud, don't scream out, don't yell from the audience. We don't take questions from the audience. If you have something that you'd like to talk to us, we will stay after and we'll talk to you. And of course, during your time that you have signed up to speak to us, we'll listen and we'll take really good notes and be able to respond to your questions after you're done. So if we could go forward with that, that would be fantastic. Our first presentation that I'm really excited to read to you is a proclamation declaring October 2025 as PTA Month in celebration of 100 years of service and advocacy. So I will hurry and do that for you. One of the things that we value most here in Kaysville is schools and children and families. And so super excited and happy to support the PTA. Whereas the Utah Parent Teacher Association, Utah PTA, is proudly celebrating 100 years of service and advocacy for children, families, schools, and communities across the state of Utah. And whereas since its founding in 1925, Utah PTA has worked hand in hand with parents, educators, and community leaders to ensure that every child has the opportunity to reach their full potential. And whereas the mission of Utah PTA to make every child's potential a reality by engaging and empowering families and communities to advocate for all children has guided a century of dedication and volunteerism across Utah. And whereas for 100 years, Utah PTA has played a critical role in shaping public education in Utah by serving as a strong watchdog for Utah's school trust lands, advocating for stable and sufficient educational funding, and ensuring that every student has access to quality learning opportunities. And whereas local PTAs serving Kaysville schools continue this proud tradition of leadership and collaboration by supporting teachers and administrators, strengthening family involvement, and promoting student success and well-being. And whereas Kaysville City gratefully recognizes that many parents, educators, and community members who volunteer their time and energy through PTA to enrich the lives of children and strengthen the fabric of our community. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Tamara Tran, Mayor of Kaysville City, along with the Kaysville City Council, do hereby proclaim October 2025 as Parent-Teacher Association Month in Kaysville City and encourage all residents to join in celebrating the 100th anniversary of the Utah PTA. Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the Annual Fraud Risk Assessment Report, which will be presented by Marin Nelson, our Finance Director. So you're going to learn a lot about our city today, so we're glad you're here.
I'll just make this short and sweet. The Utah State Compliance Audit Guide requires the city to complete a fraud risk assessment and present it to the council during a public meeting on an annual basis. So I have filled out this fraud risk assessment for Kaysville City, and the results show that we are at a low risk. The city does really good in separation of duties, adopted written policies, annual ethics training, and other trainings for staff. Two items to note: with the shifting of management this past July, the entity no longer has the license or certified finance expert. I'm currently working on getting my CGFM, and our Deputy Finance Director just passed his second CPA exam. So we anticipate that this time next year we'll have that one covered. So, any questions? Great, thanks.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you, Marin.
Yeah.
Great, okay. Yeah, I thought you were too, but fantastic. Great presentation, thank you. Okay, the next presentation is by the Power Department. Brian is going to give his annual report, and I hope you guys pay attention because we have an incredible Power Department in Kaysville City. We're pretty rare that way, so take it away, Brian.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, Council, appreciate you having me here. It's I don't know as though I'm going to be quite so short and sweet as Marin, but I'll do what I can. Before I get too carried away, I do just want to say that I absolutely love working with the men and women I work with, and it's a delight to come to Kaysville to work, and you guys are, the council and mayor have a great part in us as staff and what we're able to do. So just wanted to say thank you. And I'd imagine after the presentation today, there's going to be a lot of questions. There's a lot of things that I'm going to talk about today I don't even have all the answers for right now. And so please reach out to me. We're going to be talking about some resources and some things. But just to kick it off, just want to talk about where we're at with our power and light. Right now we're serving 11,921 customers. We're a decent sized power department. When I look at all the other municipal powers in Utah, we're right there in the middle of things. So it's fun to be able to work with these other cities and talk to some of the things that they're going through as well. We cover 10.5 square miles. We've got 15 employees in the power department. And last year we topped out at 169,530,463 kilowatt hours, which to a lot of people that probably doesn't mean a whole lot. But that's the highest power usage that Kaysville's ever registered. So we are definitely on a climb, and we've got EV charging stations. We've got so many things that are coming in that we need to be more proactive on educating the public on proper time of use and those types of things, so that we can hopefully keep our rates down. These are our resources right here. We're going to talk about that number 2 resource here in just a little bit, the Payson project. It's the Nebo plant that's down in Payson. It's 40% of our resources. It's a natural gas plant. It has the ability to generate 140 megawatts of power. And we're going to talk about it here in just a minute because it's down. So as you can imagine, that creates some concern when 40% of your generation is down. And so we're going to talk about that here in just a minute. Just recently, 2 weeks ago, it went down. They found some the turbine, the gas turbine started shaking really bad. And so they tore it apart, and they found some parts inside the turbine that were worn out and broken. And when you have something that's that big spinning that fast, it's huge. They are right now in a simple cycle. I'll get to it here in just a second. I'm going to talk about some resources. This is I feel really bad. I'm so sorry. I know a lot of you are here for the rezone and stuff, but today everything's just kind of hitting right now. So back in March at the member conference, UAMP's member conference, back in March, they talked about an all requirements resource, and they also hit a little bit on EDAM. EDAM is an extended day ahead market. It's driven by CAISO, who is a California entity that oversees and manages power usage in 11 or 12 western states. And where Pacific Corp is our balancing agency or our balancing authority, our hands are tied. EDAM is a voluntary program to opt into, and Pacific Corp has decided to opt into it. Well, because we rely on Pacific Corp as our balancing authority, we're voluntold. All the municipalities that are within UAMPS or that feed off of Rocky Mountain Power, we're joining EDAM. EDAM is an extended day ahead market. It's going to go live in May of 2026. And basically what it's going to require is that we are willing or able to tell them at 9 a.m. the day before what our usages will be the following day. And we are held to those usages. If we go over, there will obviously be a penalty. And so there's a lot of analyses that go into it. They're taking the previous 3 years, temperatures, time of year, usages, our resources. But basically the way that it's going to work is that they're going to basically take all of our resources that we own right now. They're still our resources, but they're going to buy them all from us a day in advance. And then we will then purchase back at wholesale price the day of how much we use. And so what it's going to change a lot of the changes that we're going to see is that we no longer are going to have direct ability to work one-on-one with our resources. They're going to be now managed. So by CAISO and the EDAM staff, UAMPS is going to work very close. Their staff is going to work very close with them as well. But the analogy that I was thinking about as I was flying home from UAMP's retreat this afternoon was our resources up until now have always been, you're driving a car down the road and you hit the gas when you need a few more, your demand's a little higher, you pull from your resources that you own, you hit the brakes when maybe the temperatures are a little lower, and you need to back off on the resources that you're using. We pay for them whether we use them or not, because that's how much we've bought into the generation. And so now the way the world is and the way that resources are going and the way the monitoring is going, now you're in a car where you have 2 steering wheels, 4 gas pedals, and 4 brake pedals, and people are demanding and moving and receiving all across Utah, all across the western states. And this is a way that they're going to now take and be able to procure enough power to hit all the different demands. These guys are using less today, but it's higher over here. We're going to take some of that and move it here. And they feel like this is a way to be able to manage the wholesale side of things and keep costs down.
Real quick, Brian, with the, it's always been my impression that it's kind of like the stock market, right? That you guys buy power, and what you don't use, you'll sell back. How does that work with them taking that? Do they now get the benefits of whatever isn't used? They're getting the profits off of our resources? Or?
So they will purchase 100% of our resources. On a day-to-day basis.
Okay.
They will purchase everything. So during peak, we have like three weeks out of the year that we peak so high that we do not have enough resources to meet our demand. And so we pull from the pool project, which is up here. We're going to talk about that here in just a minute, during those 3 weeks. And so other than those 3 weeks, we meet all of our needs. But like right now, during this time of year, we use significantly less power than we own through our resources. And so yes, we do sell the excess, but we still lose because we're selling it at less than what it's generated and our cost we're paying for.
Okay.
But we kind of have to do that give and take in order to have it when we need it in the peak months and the peak times. But the way that the resources are organized, it shifts and moves what resources we're pulling from at different times of year as well, and allows purchasing to be a little bit more effective. But what this is going to do is basically it's going to allow EDAM to be able to have a larger pot to be able to use, to be able to move power around where it's needed. Just for example, CAISO, I took a tour of CAISO's facility yesterday morning. It was absolutely amazing. I felt like I was totally geeking out looking at everything that they can do. But back in 2022, if you remember, California was having a bunch of blackouts, bunch of issues and different things. Because they had such high peaks, and they were trying to give away solar power because it was produced at the time it was peaking in its production. They didn't need it. So what they did is this is part of this is that they were able to distribute. They've learned over the last 2-3 years between using batteries and distributing it out where it's needed. They actually were able to, it's called a duck curve, but yeah, they were able to maintain it and keep it constant. And that's the hope that what they'd be able to do for us as well. It's, I don't know, there's some parts of this that makes me very skeptical how it's going to turn out. The theory is that the benefits will trickle all the way down to us. I'm nervous that the benefits are going to trickle down to Rocky Mountain Power and not quite get so awesome for us, but I don't know that.
So one question, Brian, because right now we're just willing a lot of our own power that we generate across Rocky Mountain's lines.
Yeah.
So now with this, we'll actually be forced to sell our resources to them every day, like the ones we do at IPP or the ones we have at Glen Canyon Dam and all those. We will be forced to sell them to them the day before, or and then
Very similar to that, yeah. We won't be selling to Rocky Mountain Power. The power will be, we will be utilizing Rocky Mountain Power's transmission lines for the power to be, to travel on. But it will be, it'll be EDAM, which is Kaysville. Anyways, yeah, that'll be controlling where everything goes
so
and how
we
it goes.
actually won't have control of our power we generate. Kaysville will.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have quite a bit of paperwork here I'll send out to all of you too to
Okay.
help explain it a little bit better. Like I said, this is still very new to me. I'm still learning a lot about it and how it's going to work. I'm asking a million questions. Some questions they don't even have for me yet. Generations one, how's that going to work if we ever want to get our own gas turbines here? How's that going to work as it sits in their contract right now for EDAM? We won't even have control of that. We will have control of it when we need it, but they will be able to dictate. If we don't need it, they'll be able to dictate that we have to run our turbines for somebody else, which then is the sale of that power going to be effective to have it? Because now we have operation costs, we have repair costs, we have so much that we're still responsible for. So it's really changing the game of our resources dramatically. Which the pool project, we have a contract right now with the pool project, which I'll be needing to bring to you guys in the next few months, because it's going to completely change the way that the pool project works. Right now, I can call, if we're short and we need power, I can call on the resources in the pool project as needed. These resources are now going to be part of the Kaysville resources. So, yeah.
Who approved this, IPA? Who
approved
who was
what?
the
EDAM?
specific court? Yeah.
Pacific Corp decided that this was the direction they wanted to go.
Okay, so
And
we had
we
no
didn't
control.
have a choice.
And our organization didn't have any control.
Yeah, all of UAMPS is completely
Controlled by-
We are completely, because they are our balancing authority. They're who
Okay.
determines
distributes
what
our power to us, and they're
Okay.
the ones that have to make sure that the demand is being met by what's coming across their lines. And
Okay.
so this is one of the ways that they feel that will be best for everybody on the way that the resources are being done moving forward.
I was going to ask you how the people at UAMPS, how they kind of felt about this, if there's optimism
I think everybody's being as optimistic as they possibly can. There's a lot of questions that are still being asked, even by UAMPS. But the companies, so they've looked into UMPA and they've looked into a couple other places that have similar structures. Down out of Phoenix, there's one. Very, very southern California, parts of Nevada also fall into a category that operates very similar to this. And they feel like it's been a very positive result. But like I said, I don't really know yet how that's going to affect Kaysville, because those are positive results on a Rocky Mountain Power level, not
Right.
on the municipal level like
Right.
we are. So I don't really know for sure what effects it's going to have. But the numbers, all the numbers and everything we are seeing is showing that they are going to be able to decrease the wholesale rate.
Okay. Okay.
Is it okay if I make a few comments and
Oh, yeah,
ask a
for
couple
sure.
questions? Sorry, I was in that meeting, right, in March with you.
Yeah.
And it was one of the times I wasn't falling asleep, because usually those UMPS meetings are a little dry, but this was interesting because it sounded horrific. And so for me, I've been skeptical about this and been thinking about it for a while, so I have quite a few thoughts. But I mean, I think probably the most extreme thought is there any way to get out of this? I don't feel comfortable with it. I mean, can we leave everyone? I mean, I understand that it's like UAMPS and all these, but, and I guess we get our power through their lines and stuff,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I just wanted to ask, I guess.
To my understanding, even if we were to decide to leave everyone, we're still dependent on Rocky Mountain Power, so we still fall underneath them as a balancing authority, even just as an individual entity.
Okay.
And so we would still be subject to EDAM. Now, one of the solutions to EDAM and all that it's going to require, and the additional analyses and studies and procurements of power and everything else, is the All Requirements Project. And this is the project that they talked about in March. This was what they spent all their time on talking there. And basically this would be another project, just like all the other resource projects that we're a part of that we get our power from. Only this project would be more of a project on how to best dictate how our resources are being used within EDAM and within what we have. It really is panning out to be kind of a really cool option. The downfall, the hesitation that I have is that UAMPS then has governing dictatorship over our resources within EDAM. Right now, the way EDAM is set up, I still have a say. I still can go and I can still say how, within EDAM, how are our resources being handled? How are the repairs being made? What are we doing? And those types of things. So, but the all requirements, we would be turning everything over to UAMPS to be able to do that. As far as it opening up a lot of avenues for UAMPS on being able to utilize a larger procurement of power amongst several resources to be able to sell and move and manipulate and get our costs down that way, it would significantly make an awesome improvement. The thing that I'm very hesitant about, and I made it very clear to UAMPS already, I sent them a huge letter of concerns with this, and they're very well aware of it, but they just barely added 2 gas resources. Mm-hmm. And they sent it out to us, the Peaker. They're called the Peaker Project. Originally, upon UAMPS reports to us, they highly recommended that we become and we purchase into this project. After we got looking through it, we realized that they had 2 of our resources that weren't into the analysis. So we sent it back to them. We said we need IPP included and we need Hunter included. After they put those 2 resources into it, they kicked back to us, oh, never mind, we don't recommend that you purchase into this project. That would have been several $1 million to purchase into a new project that all of a sudden now they don't recommend. With all requirements, our hands would be tied. As long as the majority of the members vote for something, a new resource, we now are a part of that new resource. And that's a huge hesitation of mine. And so we're talking through that. This is still stuff that is coming down the pipe. A lot of things haven't been decided. And just so you know, all requirements, I believe they said November 23rd. They're planning on having a governing body meeting along with the attorneys to discuss what this would look like and to answer more questions more in depth for you. And they also are more than happy to set up a work session or a time that they can come and present things a little bit more detailed and be able to pull up a lot of what they deal with on analyzing and their graphs and be able to show you exactly what that would look like.
Do we have a voice on that governing body?
No. Well, you do as far as me and Bruce being
right.
on a member. Yes,
you're members for the board
of the board
representing us there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. I would be a project board member.
Okay, that's what I thought.
On that, and we would be able to have a voice on how things go. But again, in all requirements, it'll be a majority.
Yeah.
So, Brian,
yeah.
I guess the thing that, this red flag that goes off or, flashing with light in the back of my head is requirements. Who determines requirements? So you have major brownouts in let's say California,
Right.
are they able to take from Kaysville, Utah, or other things and say, Kaysville, you don't get very much?
Yeah.
Because
Right.
it's better for you to have the brownout instead of Los Angeles.
Yes. So my very first question was, who gets priority over our resources? And we do.
Okay.
So they are our resources. They will purchase them. They purchase all of them from us so that they have the ability to utilize anything that we aren't going to use or have demand for that day. But we get first priority to our resources still. So as long as we have enough resources procured for our use or for our needs, we will always be taken care of.
So Brian, during those 3 weeks when we go above our resources, then who would have priority?
So that's something that I'm curious to see how they write the contract for and how things would look if we would still be able to pull from the pool project for those additional resources that we are a little short on. Obviously, there's going to be different types of penalties and things that are going to be included in this type of a diagram on how things would work. So if we do fall short, we use more than we predicted, there will be a penalty. I don't know what that is. They don't know what that is right now. They haven't told us. So, but we would either have to go out and try and find another resource that we could purchase ahead of time. There are resources like that, and that's part of what's going on with Nebo right now. That'll be on the next slide, but Nebo is down, and fortunately we're in a time right now where I think we're going to be okay. We're going to be covered by the other resources that we have. We're going to have enough to work right now where our loads are so low right now, being in the fall and the temperatures. But
Next year.
But if we're going to reach out and look for other resources that we can procure that we're not really members of or we don't own, but we'd be able to purchase ahead of time for a fixed rate. So we're not buying on the open market the day of. And that's something that we would have to entertain.
So Brian, what are the other municipal organization going to do? Are they being forced into this too, the UMPA, the Utah Municipal Power?
Yeah, so as far as EDAM is concerned, my understanding is that UMPA, UAMPS, all of them are
have
going
to
this.
do it if
UMPA is already, they've already done this all requirements project with all of their members. They're already all a part of it and doing this very thing. Provo Power, Spanish Fork Power, Nephi, they're already part of this all requirements, and so their transition into EDAM is probably going to be less concerning as far as the municipal government side of it, because it's all being dictated and governed and ran and everything by UMPA. So
I was just looking, so it says the Hurricane Power Board is still considering it, or not considering it, right?
Yeah.
So not everybody's necessarily on board.
yeah, I mean,
Right.
I don't even know for sure if I agree with it all the way yet myself, but as far as EDAM, I don't really have a choice. With
Right.
all requirements, there's 23 of us that are entertaining it.
Okay.
My response they asked us if I was on board. And I said, I am on board to take it to the governing body
Okay.
and talk to them about it, but I am not on board with all requirements yet.
Okay.
You've got to sell that to me still. I'm not quite there. There's too many questions that I still have and too many concerns that I have that I worry that Kaysville City would too often be, we would be the minority in the majority vote,
Right.
and it wouldn't be as beneficial to us. So there are a lot of them. Hurricane City is definitely one. There's several of them that are on the fence, just as we are.
Okay.
There are 23 of them that said we're willing to move forward and look into this further. And we're one of them.
Okay. Go ahead.
Do you have any more questions about the all requirements or the NEBA or the?
One of the things that we have dealt with on this body, at least, I'm not sure if were you guys part of the nuclear?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
CFP.
yeah, and that was a huge benefit for us to be able to decide, we don't want to be part of this.
Yeah.
But which of those would fall right now, currently, which of those would fall under which which project would that fall under, the all requirements, or would that fall under EDAM?
So that's,
If something like that were to.
yeah, if it doesn't matter the project, if there's a new project or a new generation of any kind that comes forward, it'll fall under, all of them will fall under EDAM.
Okay.
Not all of them will fall under all requirements. That will all just be dictated by who's in. Was it presented as an all requirement option of generation? Or is it something that one of the municipalities that didn't opt in to all requirements that they're buying into? Then it would still go into EDAM, but it wouldn't be a part of the all requirements.
Okay.
So that would just be dependent.
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, Nebo is being repaired. There's some major repairs being made to the Nebo generation plant. So I'm currently waiting on Kelton from UAMPS. He's the one that runs all the reports and does everything. He started on it yesterday for me. I'm hoping to have answers tomorrow or first part of next week on what to do. But I was just giving you a heads up that there's a possibility we may need to purchase ahead of time some resources that will be a fixed rate rather than on the open market that could potentially be significantly higher. So that's kind of just wanted to bring you up to date on what's going on there. I believe all the repairs are supposed to be up and going by end of November, but it all depends on how those repairs go and they get things taken apart, what they find. So.
If we purchase ahead, how long is that?
Say that again.
How long
sorry,
does that purchase last forever? Does it expire?
Which one?
If we're purchasing ahead?
No, it would just be temporary to help us meet the demands that we're short.
Okay.
We're short because
For
of the
the
loss
coming
of Nebo.
season? Okay.
Yeah, so there's a simple cycle. Nebo is able to run right now in a simple cycle, so it's still generating 66. It still can generate 66 megawatts of
Okay.
power, and so we are getting a percentage of that 66 megawatts plus our other resources. So like I said, I feel like we're going to be okay.
Okay.
There's a possibility there that we may have to reach out for some other opportunities. So just wanted to again reiterate that we do have some smart energy programs. All these rebates, all these things are submitted through UAMPS. So if anybody wants to know, these are the ones that we participate in. They're all done again through UAMPS, so you got to get on UAMPS website. If they have any questions, they can contact our office and we can kind of walk them through that. But if they will submit their stuff to the UAMPS website, they will get reimbursed for these appliances and opportunities. Current projects that we're working on right now, we're working on finishing our loop up around DATC. We've had several elbows burn up that are old, just wearing out equipment up there. So they're our biggest customer. They're the highest usage of power in the city. So we've been slowly working on getting all the infrastructure that goes up and around DATC rebuilt. The subdivisions there are just within the last year that we've kind of either finished them or are working on them. We just barely started the boring project. We started on the 2400 system. There's very, very few areas in the state or cities that still have 2400 on their system. We are one of those. It's a very inefficient power, and we are all the way through the first section of boring of the 24. We just need to get in the wire and the new equipment to upgrade it. And we're supposed to be starting this next week on the second section of 2400. And then we're going to focus on high target areas, Laurelwood, a few areas like that. The wire that's in the ground has about a 45 to 50 year rating. It's been in the ground for 65 years. So I was going to bring a show and tell piece. I was going to take a thing out of Josh's book and show and tell a piece of wire that we just barely took out of the ground that had a massive hole blown through the side of it. And you can see that the wires, the conductor is very brittle. You can see that it's just breaking down, just being in that. So we're boring in all new conduit so that in the future, if the wire goes bad, we pull it out, pull a new. We don't have to locate it. And it's not an 8-hour outage trying to figure out where in the ground it is and then dig it up and splice it and everything else. So we're still rebuilding King Clarion. This is something that I take a lot of pride in because when I was on the cruise, I participated in this as well. A lot of, we've rebuilt a ton of our city, a lot of our overhead. You drive through our city, you see new poles all over the place. I wish we could get the communications to get off of them faster so we could get the old poles out of the ground so they're not an eyesore. But that's kind of one of the elements that we're battling. But just this year, since January to now, we've set over 40 new poles in the King Clarion area. And we've worked on over 5,500 feet of line, and that's pretty impressive because it's not like they're working out of a bucket truck in King Clarion. They're on their hooks, just like the guy in that picture. They're going up and they're working with sticks. They're working over their heads. They're working out of a backyard machine. Everything we do is, it's like, those little pincher things, you pick up the garbage and put it in the trash can, I mean, we're essentially doing that, and that's how we repair everything on the lines. We set our insulators, tie them, everything with those sticks. So it's very time consuming. Schick substation's complete. It's done. It's up and running. It is such a relief to have that extra ability to be able to feed our city. So just to tell you really quick how close we were to a nightmare. 2 weeks before we went live with the new transformer at Schick substation, our loads were maxed at Burton, our loads were maxed at West, and our loads were maxed at Schick. Schick's loads were maxed so much that 500 MCM copper wire, which is about that big around, it had started melting and caging and dripping, and that's how close we were. Fortunately, our sub-tech caught it, and we were able to hurry and shift some load from Maine and try and move things around. We saw it in the evening, so that night we brought in some guys. We hurried and took the substation offline, and we replaced that cable. And fortunately, we dodged a huge bullet. But that shouldn't be with this new transformer. We shouldn't be pushing our loads or our transformers that hard anymore. So we were pushing at about 120% multiple times during the peak months. So,
Brian, can you just mention how much of a price increase transformers cost now versus a couple of years ago? So that people realize, maybe don't realize what a big deal that is and how expensive that is.
Yeah, you bet. So our transformers were about $1.1 million for one in the substation. And it took 72 weeks for them to hit the manufacturing table. We waited 2.5 years for the Burton substation transformer and just under 2 years for the Schick substation transformer. So lead times are ridiculous long. Yeah. They're actually even worse now. Right now, if we were to order a new transformer for a substation, we would be, the exact ones we have now, we'd be looking closer to $1.5 million for a transformer, and we wouldn't have it for about 4 to 5 years.
Right. So I appreciate that. I just want people to know how far out you're planning for this and how expensive things cost.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
It's absolutely crazy, though, how much things have gone up. So I'm really glad we were able to get things when we did and be in a better place. So Burton Substation's in the middle of its construction. They're building the control house right now. The transformer's been set. I'll show you a picture of them setting the transformer here in just a little bit. And we're still doing tree and vegetation control. We've also been able to identify a lot of where we've had a lot of squirrels. So we've had like 38 squirrel outages this year.
Yeah.
We have completely, I don't know if they just wanted to procreate like crazy this year or what, but we've killed like close to 40 squirrels this year. Just getting up there, that's 40 outages that they've caused, getting up where they don't belong. And if you drive up through the east side of town, it's not uncommon to see them running down the lines. But it's been kind of cool because we've been able to pull we've been able to pull data from our OMS and be able to see and target areas that have been more targeted areas that we've had animal outages, and we've been able to take steps to help mitigate those outages, putting things on our poles so they can't climb past them and that kind of stuff. So anyways, no, it's been good.
Good. It's a hard job.
This is really quick. I just wanted to talk about as well with future things. We're also entertaining another thing that we'll be bringing to the council in the future, is we have been discussing and working towards a time of use rate that I feel like will be a benefit and a good thing, especially for the fixed income and individuals and people that it's more difficult on them to be able to meet the increasing rates and things like that we're facing these days. So the time of use, I feel like, is going to present an opportunity for them to be able to utilize the time of day that they use their power and be able to hopefully keep their rates or their costs lower. Mm-hmm. But that's something that staff is talking about right now. How would we implement that into our billing system, and what would those rates look like? I've been talking to several other cities, and it sounds like most cities are kind of dealing with the same things we are. They want to implement it, but they're just working through their billing software to be able to make everything happen and what that looks like. So
Thanks.
Just wanted to go through a couple pics from this year's our guys out working on the poles, what they do. You can see some backyard stuff out of the trucks, different things. A lot of what they're doing is live. A lot of these lines continue to have 7,200 volts pumping through them as they work on them, so that our residents continue to have power as we do what we do. The sticks that we use in these backyard jobs, when you see us working with these sticks, they have really high ratings, so we're safe and we can work on the end of them and not get electrocuted. So you can see this is all backyard stuff that we've done with our backyard machine, being able to get places that we would normally be working off of our hooks, and then they're up on the hooks doing their thing, and you look up there and you just see a big mess, but it all makes sense if you know what you're doing. So and then I would like to invite any of you, if any of you are interested in seeing a backyard job of how we do things with sticks, how we raise the lines, how we're able to manipulate and move the lines around while they're energized, I'd be more than happy to set up a time for you to come see one of our projects. Okay. And see what our guys what they do. So here in the near future, we're going to continue to do direct bury cable replacement. That's something I did want to bring up to the council today. Is I've got a ton of inquiries of people saying that we're burying our power lines. We are not burying our power lines. Okay, all we are doing is we are replacing the bad wire that we have in the ground. That is direct bury. It's not in a conduit. So we are going through. There will be small sections of town that we will take underground only because it makes sense and it's the right thing to do. But everywhere you see power lines, so when the residents ask you, are we burying our power lines? No, we are not. We are replacing the ones that are already buried.
Because they're excited or
We want it. Yeah, I mean, it would be exciting and awesome. It's just expensive.
But it'd just be so ridiculous amount of money that it's not even reasonable. We're still working on upsizing some wire on some main feeders, Burton Lane and Subset. We just barely shot that this last week. We're going to get that upsized now that we have the Schick substation being able to push more load, and the Burton substation. We've got that link right there. That's the wire's too small, so we're working on getting that done in preparation for future build that may take place down there around the sewer district. Again, we're continuing to rebuild King Clarion. We're pushing all the poles higher. We're pushing the lines up out of the trees. We're working on trouble areas. Porcelain insulators have been, a lot of the porcelain insulators clear back 4 directors ago from Walt were bought on surplus. They were used when we got them. They've been in the air for 40 years and they're failing. We're starting to get a lot of pole fires. Just the other night, I got a resident that called and said, I was walking down the road by Gailey Park and I heard a buzzing noise. Jumped in the truck, went down there with our trouble guy, and it was a porcelain insulator that was burning through. And had it not been addressed later on that night, we would have had a full pole fire. It would have burnt down. We would have had to set a new pole, and it would have been a 6-7 hour outage rather than a 2-hour outage while we went in and replaced all the stuff, hardware on the pole. So porcelain insulators is the main focus of ours right now and is going to continue to be as we replace them with polymer. Our long-range study plan, and then just identifying and repair damaged infrastructure and S&C trip savers. So anyways, there's just, as you can see, there's there's a lot going on in the power world right now, and I was hoping to knock that out even faster than I did, but the biggest thing is the resources are changing. There's a lot coming down the pipe. I will send out the documentation. They've got some bullet points, some things for the governing bodies to be able to better understand exactly what's going on. Hopefully I didn't confuse you too much. Please feel welcome to come talk to me anytime to better understand what's going on, the changes that we're making, and the road that we're going down. I do think that there are going to be some good changes, but I also think there's going to be a lot of growing pains that come with it.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
Thanks, Brian.
anyways.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for all you're doing. Keep us informed. Okay, all right.
Actually, I do have a comment,
Oh, go ahead.
but you don't need to come back up. With the old poles around the city, especially in the east side, I would love to sit down as a council and talk about our legal authority with the old poles and to maybe come up with a plan to work with these communication companies to see if we can get the lines moved to the new poles. Because it's starting to look
Gotta nudge them,
like an
yeah.
eyesore, and so I'd love to do that.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good. Great suggestion. We'll get on that. Okay. Conflicts of interest. Anyone? Council, anything to declare before we move forward? Okay. Would someone like to make a motion on our item number 5A, consent agenda?
I'll make a motion that we approve consent item A, appointment of Jeremy Birkinshaw as planning commission member.
Thank you. We have a motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Councilmember Hunt.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries. Thank
Is
you.
he here by any chance, or no?
Don't believe so.
Okay, nay.
Oh.
Snoozes, he loses. Okay. The item that you guys are all here for, so raise your hand if you're here for item 6A. Yes, raise them proud. Okay, good. Okay. All right. So what we do is we have the presentation of the agenda item first. So I will turn it over to Ann to present. Then we usually hear from the applicant, and then we open it up for public comment. We do have quite a few people that signed up, but not 10. So if you signed up to speak, great. I'll call out the order. You can come up. You'll have your 3 minutes to speak, and we will smile and take notes during your comments. If more people want to speak, because we have more room, raise your hand and let me know, and I'll give you an opportunity to speak, because I know some people came in a little bit after the meeting started. And then after that, we will go to a council discussion. We'll answer your questions during that time, and we can take some action. And so we'll discuss the actions that could be possibly taken on that agenda item. Okay, so then we'll go from there. All right, Ann.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'd like to start by explaining that Jake Williams applied for this project to rezone the parcel to central commercial and mixed-use overlay at 80 East Center Street. The mixed-use overlay does require a fully vetted project with a development agreement, and this specific project would convert the historic Presbyterian church that's currently on site to a single-family residence where the Williams family would reside, adding a total of 23 townhomes with the conversion of the church taking it to 24 total dwellings. The townhomes that front Center Street and the neighboring parcel to the west where Zions Bank is located would have commercial storefronts on the ground floor, and interior townhomes would have ground floor space that would be used as commercial space with the option to also use it as live workspace as needed. This particular item was brought to before the Planning Commission on August 14th, where a public hearing was held. We had quite a robust response from the public in sharing their thoughts. And after the public hearing closed, the Planning Commission decided that they wanted the applicant to bring it back with some modifications, including additional open space and fewer dwellings. With that in mind, Mr. Williams revised the proposal, and on September 11th, the revised proposal was considered, and it included removing 3 townhomes, reducing the overall dwelling count from 27 to 24, increasing the amount of open space and amenity offerings, and also decreasing the ground floor ceiling height from 12 feet to 9 feet on all of those interior townhomes. Just as a refresher, this is what the church looks like now, and this is the location of the parcel in question. It is currently zoned A1, and this is where it is indicated on the future land use map. As far as comments from the Planning Commission meeting, as well as submitted online, we had a total of 16 people speak at the public hearing, and 15 comments were submitted to the portal for staff to include in the packet. And Planning Commission at their September 11th meeting ultimately voted 4-0, recommending approval of this project. To conclude, there are a couple key points that staff recommends the council consider. That the preservation of the church creates constraints on the ideal layout or use of the site, the location and proximity to historic downtown Kaysville, the potential addition of housing to the downtown area, which will help facilitate vibrancy and revitalization, and that the applicant has committed to the same owner occupancy requirement recently approved for the RM rezone at 950 North. And then as a final note, the density of this site is proposed at 15 units per acre, which compared to the multifamily residential zone that we have that zone is 15.6 units per acre. So after the discussion with the Planning Commission and their voting up for a positive recommendation, staff has brought this before the council to consider for approval or denial based on the available information.
Okay, thank you very much, Jan. Jake, would you like to come and tell us about your project?
Sure. I think I've had the opportunity to meet with all of you at this point, meet with a handful of the neighbors. Our driving force for this project initially was figure out a way to save the church. And so we've tried to communicate to everyone and to the neighbors, try to be cognizant and make some changes. But ultimately, this is kind of what we came up with, the goal being save the church and as many of the kind of old growth existing trees as we could, and kind of use our, can I use this laser pointer? Is that what this is? Mm-hmm. I think kind of the yard for our home, the idea was to use the existing trees to kind of define that, and then ultimately try to kind of buffer with this, where this is 100 East. So the idea was kind of keep the existing church and everything, the look and feel similar to as it is now, so that the interaction with 100 East would remain relatively unchanged, and the only thing facing 100 East would be a duplex, which there's multiple duplexes next door and a fourplex across the street. So we try to be cognizant of the neighbors, and then maintain the townhomes with the storefronts kind of on this exterior where we're facing Zion's Bank, which sits here. I think one of the things that I wanted to voice is ultimately for us, like the number of units, I know that's the big pushback from everyone. We just kind of, it's a math problem at this point. Is the parishes had listed it and told us what they wanted for it, and so our goal is ultimately to try and find as big of a win-win situation as we can. A lot of the inspiration for this initially came from the general plan. For me as a developer, that's the first place I went, was to see what does the general plan call for, how can we meet as many of the goals and metrics of the general plan as possible, and that's kind of what led us to this point today. As far as the amount of commercial and all those other things, I think at this point we're we're negotiable. We're not here trying to, and I voice this to each of you, not here trying to jam this down anyone's throat. Those are our constraints that we're working within at this point. And then we had met with each of you and planned to potentially meet with some more of the neighborhood if we could. And then late last week is when I found out that we needed to present the exact same plan that was approved by Planning Commission by law tonight, and then kind of look at this as maybe as a working session to get your additional feedback in a public setting, and then look at what maybe makes the most sense for this area, if there are additional changes that need happen. But ultimately, for us, our goal has just been to save the church, and so the math kind of works backwards from there, and this is where we landed. So I think it's a project I'm proud of, and I'm open to hear additional feedback, and hopefully we can come up with additional wins. But historically, the church is what I love. I'm from Kaysville, grew up here, so I'm not trying to jam anything that I wouldn't live next to. That was one thing that this is a yes in my backyard. I want to live next door to this, so hopefully that helps. As far as for me, we live just by one of the townhome projects that has recently been built off Mountain Hollow, at the bottom of Mountain Hollow. And it was just the other day, my wife and I drove by it like every day, and there was a little family with 2 little kids that were just coming out and walking to Tasty's Donuts, and it was like, that's exactly like the vision that I have for this, is there's just not that many places left where a young family with 2 little kids can live. And so that's part of the inspiration here, is to hopefully provide that and participate in kind of the rejuvenation of Main Street. That was the other thing that got me excited. My grandma grew up going to Bowman's when it used to be on Main Street, and I miss going and getting grab bags and having something that's kind of walkable. So that's kind of the inspiration. But again, we're here to hear you out and hear your feedback, and would love to answer any questions or see what we can come up with that works for everybody.
Okay, thank you. All right, we will now go ahead and bring up the public. So these are the people that have signed up in this order. If you'll come up, tell us your name. Emma West, Tucker Hunsaker, Skip Tippett, Bob Dunford, Rob Dancy, and Maggie McBride. If you'll come up in that order, that would be great.
My name is Emma West. I live on the corner of 2nd South and 2nd East, so fairly close. My family and I have been here forever. Not forever, I shouldn't say that, because some people really have been here forever. Been here for like 30 years, which is kind of young. But enough to know the neighborhood. And there have been a lot of things pointed out. I don't have anything against the developer or his family. I like that there are different ways to have a place to live. And the Mountain Hollow place that he was describing, the little kids walking with the strollers and stuff, that's great because that fronts the street. And you can walk there. But this project is just too dense for our neighborhood. And there's a lot of things that could come from that. You know, we could talk about the height. It's too much light pollution. It would be too crowded, and emergency issues, too many parking issues. Those are all part of it, and I'm sure some of the other people will explain some of those too. But my big hesitations, it doesn't fit the character of this neighborhood, and the residential and commercial mix is not appropriate for this neighborhood. So it's been billed as this quaint little thing, and it can match the neighborhood being on Main Street. Well, our neighborhood is not on Main Street, and it's a very firmly residential neighborhood with mostly single-family homes, but about 60 plus rental units of multifamily. And, you know, it's not like we don't want multifamily housing. We are bearing a lot of that as far as where it exists in the city already. But our neighborhood isn't Main Street. So it's not something that can blend into Main Street. I think we all know it's going to be developed at some point. And it would be great if it could be a city park or something, but it won't be. But I think that there are other things that can fit there a little bit better. And integrate and blend into the neighborhood more than this will. This is a very harsh, abrupt end to the neighborhood, and I just don't think it belongs where it is put, because it's such a place that needs the right kind of feel, and I just don't think this is it.
Thank you.
My name is Tucker Hunsaker. I live across the street at 41 South, 100 East. At the last meeting, the developer said they did not know if they'd be able to have the proper funds to preserve the church, since they had to reduce the plan by 3 units. So we'd love to know if the preservation is guaranteed, and if it'll be after a large amount of construction and machinery for the townhomes, which could put the church at risk. If it's delayed and things get more expensive, who's to say the current $1 million price tag to save the church would become too expensive for the owners to justify? Regarding parking and traffic, I've already brought this up at the Planning Commission meeting, and it has yet to be addressed, but the traffic impact study was completed during the couple of months that Kaysville Elementary and Davis High were in summer break. A new study should be required as this pertains to the safety of an already unsafe student pickup process. Parking for the homeowners barely covers residents, and that's assuming that both garage spots would be used and not for storage, which most likely will not, and residents will rely on 100 East for guests and their own cars. As far as commercial parking, they have totaled all 25 commercial spaces into one, around 7,000 square feet, to hit the number of 12 required parking spots for commercial use, which is unrealistic even if a few businesses become successful. I believe this is also happening with the green space, with the one home's private yard being grouped into the total green space for the lot. Only access is on 100 East. We believe this to be insufficient, especially given the intent of all of the commercial space. Traffic for anyone heading south will also be pushed through several of the quieter streets to Davis High and the Seminary intersection. The interaction with 100 East is buffered by trees, but not buffered by parking, traffic, and the one access, especially because overnight parking won't be allowed on Center Street, so it's all going to get pushed to us. The price of the lot should not be a burden that the rest of us have to bear, meaning more homes need to be sold to give the seller their asking price. These homes will not be affordable and have been projected to be north of $600,000. Many homes in the area are sold for less and offer more land and square footage, including my own, where barely less square footage, but I have half an acre and I paid less than $400,000. Is there any regulation on the businesses brought in, the hours of operation, lighting, parking, bathrooms is important? I mean, I'm across the street and I worry about anyone, having a knock on my door, because I don't believe there's a plan for that. But believe it or not, my neighbors who've lived here for decades, and I've only lived here for just a year, are not opposed to development. We believe, something's going to be put in there eventually. But once you take out the church and the homeland and 2 stores, where else are 23 homes and 23 businesses approved on 1 acre? I don't know if that type of density even happens in Salt Lake, but especially in a small neighborhood in Kaysville. There are aspects to this plan that we do like and support, but this is not a neighborhood in Main Street that can properly coexist with this sort of high density. We do not expect it to remain a field forever. It's a great lot with a beautiful church that we hope stays. But this decision will impact our neighborhood and downtown forever. So we do expect that whatever development eventually happens to be safe and reasonable to the existing neighborhood, and hope that whoever takes it on will preserve Kaysville's hometown feel and communicate with those of us whose lives will be impacted.
Thank you, Tucker.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tucker.
My name is Gabe Tibbetts. I live on First. I was unfortunately out of town during the last meeting, so I'm just getting caught up. But to be honest, we can sit and spout numbers and all these things, nothing against the developer, but really it's a gut check. The first time you hear of this, it's like some colorful words. You got to be kidding me. Like, you've got a one-way street on one side, you've got an elementary school on the other side, and then the traffic ultimately is going to flow anywhere southbound. You're going to send them past an already busy intersection with the high school, a junior high, and an elementary school, which in the last 3 years has already had 6 children hit, whether those have been reported or not. You've got this a gut check. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. I had the unfortunate experience of moving, thinking I could build another home, but I was fortunate enough to keep my home, and so I rented it out. One day I had a wonderful gentleman from Kaysville City show up and tell me I couldn't rent my home out. I bought it during '99, and it already had a mother-in-law apartment. Now, we all know the newlyweds, nearly deads, that was a problem in that area. There were a lot of mother-in-law apartments, and so the city started to crack down. Why did they crack down? Because of traffic, because of the flow. It wasn't Kaysville. There wasn't a lot of stats. It was because it wasn't Kaysville in a bedroom community. And so because I had a very young newlywed couple and another lady living there, I had to ask one of them to leave. I didn't like it, but I respected it and I understood it because we didn't want that to become our neighborhood. This isn't a not in my backyard. But if we're going to regulate certain things like that, it's got to make common sense for 2 blocks away. This is not the time or the place for this development. There is you've got to be kidding me. There's plenty of money to develop into 3 lots and homes. There are people begging to move into Kaysville for what it is. It doesn't take all the numbers. It's a gut check. That's all the time I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Skip.
Mayor Tran, council members, thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, Council Member Adams, for your opening thought. I thought that was awesome. I have not given a 2-minute talk since primary, so 3 minutes is almost unbearable. I've been a resident of Kaysville for over 60 years. During this time, I have lived in 5 homes within 4 blocks of the Harvey property, which is being proposed for rezoning. Our current home is about 1 block southeast of the historic church. Did I tell you my name? Bob Dunford,
Bob, yeah.
141 East, 100 South, Kaysville. So our home is 1 block southeast of the Harvey property. I attended Kaysville Elementary from 1963 to 69. Where Ivy Harvey was my 2nd grade teacher. I loved her. Hazel Parrish also taught some of our children. We have great appreciation for the Harvey family, their lifelong contributions to Kaysville, including the preservation of this historic Presbyterian church since the family purchased it in 1933. That's amazing. So when I first heard of the current proposal for the development of this property, which is now from 26 to 23 townhomes, I have to admit there was a shock factor associated with this many housing units. High-density housing and affordable housing are certainly buzzwords, and we hear a lot of these mentioned today. The reason I was caught off guard, I believe, is the stark contrast between the proposed 23 townhomes on 1 acre of land as compared to the immediate neighboring block to the east, which has 22 families, almost the same, on 10 acres of property. People live in this area because of its character, its charm, and uniqueness. We actually have trees that will get blown over in an east wind, as opposed to many areas in Kaysville that don't. So I would just ask some questions. I appreciate the mayor and city council members, the issues that they have before them, and I certainly don't have all the answers to these questions. But I would ask this: is the current proposal in harmony with the city's plan for redevelopment of the downtown area? Does the proposed development truly provide affordable housing when the cost of the proposed townhomes will exceed the cost of the majority of the homes in an existing neighborhood? Will mixed-use commercial units add more costs and complexity to potential buyers who don't want a home business on the first level, but just want some affordable housing available? What are the unintended or unanticipated consequences of 23 businesses in such a small area? I'm not aware of anywhere in Kaysville, even a strip mall, that has 23 potential businesses all together in a 1 acre piece of property. What does that mean?
Time is up.
It means your mic
Can I cover
is
up
quiet,
the red?
but you can. Okay, go ahead. Oh, we can restart it.
Some of the potential issues I believe should be considered are safety, proper building codes associated with certain types of businesses that could potentially be there, adequate space for delivery of goods to businesses, hours of operation, garbage removal, and parking. Parking alone seems to be a real challenge. I know a CPA who operates his business from home and needs 3 or 4 parking spaces throughout the day for clients and employees. That's just one business. So now if you have potentially 23 businesses, you multiply that by 3 or 4 cars a day, that adds up pretty fast. So I guess would a proposal for a similar situation in the city with 24 businesses, would that get approved if the only parking for customers was on public streets in a residential area? I appreciate the time and service that the council and the mayor and council members are providing. I think this is a complex issue that needs careful review and consideration, and appreciate your abilities that you have to evaluate this appropriately. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rob Danzy, Kaysville City. I'm on the Historic Preservation Commission for Kaysville City as well, and a resident of the neighborhood. I think I've spoken with Jake and with all of you on the council and expressed my opinions and thoughts on it. I think, generally speaking, I love the look and feel, to be honest with you, with what Jake is proposing. I love the kind of desire to pull in some of those looks from Main Street. My big issues are the density of it, right? 23 is too much for 1 acre. I realize it's 1.6 acres, but by the time you remove the church and whatnot, it comes down to 1.1 acres. So density is a huge thing for me. Parking is a huge challenge for me. And this isn't just this project, it's a townhome project in general. I recognize there's 2 parking stalls per home here, and that helps go towards the parking requirements, but we all know that most people don't put their cars in their garage, especially if they don't have a yard with a shed where they can put all their crap. The garage becomes the shed. So that's the big challenge there, is parking's not there, the density's too high. The thing I do appreciate is the willingness to preserve the church. You guys all know that I love history, I love preservation of buildings. I also don't want that to become an either-or situation in this particular conversation either. I think that both can be done by lowering the density and also preserving the church. I don't think that it's the council's responsibility to make sure that the current landowners make enough money on this property that they can do other things. Our responsibility is to make sure that this is the right project for the right neighborhood. And I don't know that this is the right project for this neighborhood or any neighborhood in Kaysville. I'd love to see, like Jake was saying, if there's some back and forth between the council and the community and Jake to be able to find a solution that works for everybody. I love the idea of preserving the building and finding cool spaces that fit with the historic nature of downtown and merging the 2 together. But the density certainly doesn't work for anybody here. So appreciate your time today and over the last several weeks as you communicated with us, and good luck. Thanks.
Thanks, Rob. Maggie.
Hi, I'm Maggie McBride. My kids go to Kaysville Elementary and Davis High. I come before you today. This has nothing to do with the parishes or Mr. Williams. I have to have my notes or else I get sidetracked. I'm confident that Mr. Williams will do a superb job with the church and the development if he's given that opportunity. I know it'd look good. I know he'll do a great job. But the issue at hand is we need to be dutiful as a community and as a city council to set the bar extremely high with this development, because this will set the precedent for future developments that are like this. We haven't had something like this yet. And these developments are coming. We can't get around that, so we might as well fix the issues at hand now. One is the fire issue that I have a concern with. If even half of the commercial units are separately leased from the homeowners, that actually bumps up the units to around 30, and per fire code, from what I understand, that means we need to have 2 exit points. Currently, as presented, there's only 1. Sanitation, the bathroom issue has been brought up. If they are separately leased from the homeowners, are there adequate sanitation usages, bathrooms, sinks, those kind of things? Because we don't want them coming knocking on the doors of homeowners or coming to the city hall or going to Arby's or the theater asking to use bathrooms. No, number 3, rehabbing the church. I don't know if we're even allowed to have this information, but is rehabbing the church actually in the contract, or is it just a handshake deal? Is there a timeline to rehabbing the church? Can the church be demolished if the rehab just happens to cost too much, or the church falls into further disrepair because of timelines or going over budgets? Can Mr. Williams sell the contract after he receives his final approval, which is unfortunately a common practice among developers? And if this does happen, what happens to the church then? What are the cost of these units? I've heard various numbers from around $500,000 to $600,000. Average home, this is just fun information, average home in Kaysville year to date, and this is taking an average of townhomes, large homes, whatever, is $752,000. In all of Davis County, it is $582,000. That's just food for thought. Fun fact, high density is considered 16 units per acre. This development is 24 units per acre. I think many of us as community members have a mix-up in our head of high density does not equal affordable housing. Those are two separate things that are required. Another question I had was, has a new car study been done? Tucker brought that up. I don't feel that car study was done in a time frame to gather accurate numbers. This is an important one. Do surrounding homeowners know that with any mixed-use building like this one that's being put in, their homeowners insurance will rise? I don't know how many of you have your homeowners insurance gone up. It's gone up in an unprecedented amount in the last couple years. When I did some research on this, I talked to several national and local insurance companies. They said with mixed use, homeowners insurance will go up due to increased traffic, possible crime, and vandalism. Let's see, what else did I have? I think that's it. I don't expect answers from you now, but it's more just to get the wheels going and thoughts going there. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Maggie. Appreciate you. Is there anyone else out there that would like to comment? If you would, come on up.
I'm Val Starkey. I have two thoughts since the beginning of the meeting. On the left side of the drawing, we do not know what the attachment with Zions Bank, the spacing, and what's over there. So how can you possibly put in commercial places on that side without knowing the spacing, the traffic, walking, cars between the two? Item number one. Item number two is what's the viability requirement of having those commercial entities work? In other words, if they're not going to work, doesn't that kind of put a big hole in the whole plan? Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Okay, come on.
Hi, my name's Mike Bryant. I live down near Windridge, so not close to the affected area. But one of the major things, and we talked about this a little bit ago, was that traffic impact study. And I don't know if it was done disingenuously or it just happened to fall that way, that it was the week after school ended. But at the very least, we should redo that impact study before we approve anything moving forward. And it was mentioned about kids and a vision for the future to be able to walk around and have shopping centers close, right? Well, I have a 13-year-old daughter, and when I was explaining this to her, she said what she wanted for future Kaysville is single-family homes, because she wants a backyard to raise her family and have kids playing in, like the yard that she gets to grow up in. So I know we want to pack a lot of houses in. We want to have more people move into Kaysville. But I think we need to be more reasonable and give our future generations the same opportunity that we have with a single-family home. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. All right, appreciate your comments. We've been taking notes, I know. Who wants to start? Councilmember Adams, looks like he would like to share.
Just go down the line.
Sure.
Let's see. Yeah, I've taken some good notes. I think the overall theme of the neighborhood and those attending is the density is an issue. I also would like to echo how grateful I am that you would be saving the church. And I think that, if we were to do by a raise of hands, most of the neighbors would appreciate that gesture. And also recognize that in order for that to pencil, you do need to make some money off of the deal that's more than just tearing it down and using the ground for profit. And so, as someone who really appreciates history and really appreciates buildings and the fact that buildings can't get old unless we let them get old, I really admire and appreciate that you're doing that. And it's probably one of the major reasons why I've tried to figure out a way to make this work. And I think that's probably also the reason that some of the neighbors have been willing to budge a little bit. I feel bad also that if in any way you've been misled about the general plan or the overall appetite for a project like this, from whether it be from staff or planning commission, because I know the amount of money that must have been spent on this project already to date, and it does make me feel bad that what we're about to say, as I'm assuming might happen, I won't put the words into my fellow council members' mouths, but that we're about to, essentially waste away all of that money, because the project is way too dense, and probably something that, if you'd have talked to me in the first place, I'd have said that's never going to get approved with this council. And yet I think there's something here. I really do, and I appreciated you meeting with myself and Councilmember Blackham and taking the time to do that. I think that was to be admired and very awesome. There's a lot of stuff that's kind of come out. I know that that Josh Belknap has discussed a possibility of connecting the road that ends there at, what's that street called, Mike?
50
West.
50 West, continuing 50 West through in a throughway that would kind of come through the parking lot of Zion's, and that's become viable now that they purchased the old building there. A lot of moving parts. I'm sure maybe some of you neighbors are hearing that for the first time. And again, that's, don't call Josh tomorrow and say, what the heck, or do actually give him a call, razz him a little bit. But like from a standpoint, what I look at, and I think I talked to most of you neighbors when I met at a neighborhood meeting, I think we discussed how there isn't as much a concern with the buildings that are actually back-facing to the parking lot there. That if you were to see a business go in there, and a road going through there actually would be extremely beneficial for viability of the downtown, but also could make it very possible for there to be businesses on those homes. As Val pointed out very correctly, there's no real way to guarantee how someone would have storefront or any type of business that's viable through the parking lot that somebody else owns. And I think, you recognize that. And so there's a lot of moving parts there. I think that, 600, or what was the total that would be the business, 300 square feet, isn't really a business. It would be an office space at best. Isn't going to produce any revenue really for the taxpayers of the city, and that's kind of what we're going for when we talk about commercial. The idea of having a storefront that actually consumes the entire bottom floor of a parcel makes a lot more sense to me. You look at Bountiful and some of the things that they've done there close to their main street and put in some of these boutiques. I could see that, if that road went in or if Zion's was amiable to allowing parking in there, I could see that being a much more potential and something that everybody in this room would probably enjoy. It would probably mean eliminating all of those middle units so that you could push the buildings back a little bit and still provide a garage. Anyway, I hate to say all this stuff like telling you what to do, because I want it to be very clear I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just stating, as I've pored over this project, as I've looked at it going through the planning commission, as I've talked to the neighbors, there's still some work to be done. At the time right now, no person that would purchase the product would have to have a business. So it's like there's really no gain for making it so. This wasn't the intent of mixed use, is for us to guarantee that we have commercial tax revenue generating products with living space above. And that's kind of like the idea. That's what's sold to us when we created the mixed use plan. And so this doesn't really fit into that. I'd rather see it either change to just, if you really wanted to bring it back, change to just totally residential, and half, maybe less, the units, which I still wouldn't love. I'd love to see some businesses go in, but I want it to be done the right way. I think that's all I have to share. Just want to again express my gratitude for all the neighbors that have showed up, and how amicable you were at the mic. No nasty words were said, and so I hope that we can still make this work. And I hope that the seller can understand that whatever price range they're thinking is definitely needs to come down to make this viable project for us to approve, at least for me to approve, and that's where I'll leave it.
Okay, thank you. Are we going down the line, or just, I don't need to ignore the side over here. Are we okay? Everybody okay? Okay, go ahead.
That gives Abby the last word.
Okay, all right.
So a lot of what Councilmember Adams says, I reiterate. But for me, I was in the process of creating the general plan when we did this a few years ago, and there are two things that really stand out in my mind that the people put their input on, and one of them was we need to enhance our commercial downtown. And if you look at this area downtown, you see we have the city building, the police station, the old folks home over here, and the rec center. We don't generate much taxes from that. And so one of the things that everybody said when the surveys went out is work on enhancing the commercial in the downtown area and try to make it a walkable commercial area. And in this general plan, and when we were working on some of the zoning and some of the things, we tried to introduce the mixed-use portion of it. Well, at the time, there's not a lot of mixed-use things around Utah and around this area that you see where you have commercial other than Bountiful. And there was a very stringent 30% commercial put on there, and there was a good reason for that. The reason was because if you look at the ones like we kind of mirrored against Bountiful, the entire floor of the main floor is all commercial. And in order to get 30%, if you figure your three-story building, you got to pretty much say that to get that, you're going to have at least all of the main floor. Well, it's true, and so there was a little discrepancy on whether Bountiful provided parking in those. So I went down to Bountiful and toured around, walked all around them in the last week, and there is no parking inside of those. They are all commercial on the main floors, and then they're residential above that. I really want to try to build the commercial downtown. Now, viably, I don't know how that works. I haven't done a pro forma. I'm not the guy trying to put the commercial in there, but I think, if it's the right development and it gets put out there, there might be people out there that would have commercial entities that are interested, because we have grown so much. And the other thing that really stands out with me is when we're going through the general plan is how much people like their detached single-family dwellings in Kaysville. I realize we do have some apartments here and we do have some townhomes, but not a lot. And I think the councils before us have been very, very tough on development. And because of that, it's become a very desirous place to live. And there's not a lot of vacant ground left. And if there is vacant ground, it doesn't take a lot to figure out the more units you can get in that ground, the more money you're going to make. And there's a good reason why year after year they say Kaysville is the #1 place to live in. It ranks #1, I believe, in most all the Utah magazines as the most desired place to live. There's a reason for that. And I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not ashamed that we're 90% single family. Now, do we need to be 2 units per acre? No, we don't need to be 2 units per acre, but we need to be more open to some increased density. But if you take that quarter block right now that this sits next to, there are a total of 7 dwellings in the same size area. And to put 24 in an area the same size where there's 7 on the same block, to me that's not a smooth transition into a change. That's a radical change. But I really, really want to try to build the commercial downtown. I get that maybe on some interior units you're not going to be able to do the full floors of commercial fronting the streets, that people could see the storefronts and they can walkability and usability. But I also think that it's so dense in here. I look at these cars in these garages and I think first time somebody backs their car out and it stops and quits and won't run, you just pinned in about 10 other cars and they can't even get out of there, And plus, I think somebody made the comment that, if you have a garage and you don't have a storage shed, or you don't have you don't have anywhere. And so you drive around town and you see a lot of cars in the driveways because they don't have anywhere to store their stuff. And so they use their garage. That is their storage area. And I see a lot of these type of townhomes built, and almost all of these type of townhomes built that I go look at, they all have a living room or something on the main floor. A garage comes in, 2-car garage comes into it, and they have a living room or whatever. I don't know how that could work for a commercial space, because it's usually just a living room that has a door entrance, and then from there the living space goes up and above. For me to see some sort of a retail outlet or something in something that small, and that's kind of what we want. We want businesses. Not every business is going to be an accountant or an architect. We're looking for walkability businesses where people have retail. They have candy stores. I don't know. I mean, Bountiful had an ice cream shop, candy stores there, and I think that's the type of commercial we're looking for. And we have to remember, that's the kind of commercial that pays 100% in the value of their taxes. I think cutting it down and calling it commercial to a third of that main floor, and then having garages, I don't even know what they would count. They would probably be part of the residential because that's what they're tied to. So I don't see us getting the commercial benefit. That was never the intent of the mixed use when we were going through the general plan, in what I remember. And so it's just too congested. It doesn't meet the commercial aspects, to me in any way, that we were hoping for in our downtown area to help increase some taxes here so that we're not always raising property tax and asking you to pay for them. And you can look at the general plan, and I can go through the general plan and I can find a sentence or a verbiage in there that will almost back up anything you want to do, either way. And that's why they're general plans, I guess, because they're general. They're not, we're not held to them. That's specifically, they're a recommendation. Yeah, I kind of agree with Councilmember Adams. I think they're, I mean, well, I won't go there. But as far as, I read a little verbiage on the Constitution today. And it says when our forefathers were building the Constitution, they were going to do it through a republic government. And in doing that, they said, because you got to understand, I'm up here, yeah, I'm a council member, Mike Black, I'm up here, but I represent the people. And that's what the Constitution said, the forefathers said. It says, people will be voted in by the people for a short amount of time to represent us. And I'm up here, and I have listened to a lot of you, and you have voiced your opinions, and you've made it very clear. This is too dense, it's too much change, and I agree with you.
Well, similar thoughts. I like the look. I think the look of the townhomes, and I've lived in townhomes multiple times in my life in DC as a professional. I've heard multiple times over the almost 4 years I've been on council, when people talk about density, they talk about, you know, lower quality people coming in. And I hope that, I have not heard that, and I really appreciate that. But we've heard that, and although some might consider, since I'm a BYU fan, that I'm a lower quality person, and I appreciate that. And I'm not going to rehash, well, I might a little bit, because Councilmember Blackham and Adams have been on the council when the overlay went in, when they were trying to bring in more commercial downtown. My biggest concern on this is that there's no forcing function to have commercial in. I could buy one of these homes and say, yeah, I'm gonna have whatever, and now I'm just gonna have my own office, and there's no forcing function. And so, in a sense, to me, it feels like I've got a commercial zone property with an overlay in order to bring in RM type density. I don't like the feel of that. I drove through over the last couple days all the townhomes that have gone in recently over the last few years here in Kaysville. Not all of them, a number of them. I drove through through Tasties. I'm looking at the 25 feet, and I'm looking, if I'm backing out because there's no driveway, man, that's pretty tough. The nice thing about it is you're able to drive through. There's there's two entrances into the development. There's the one that's just north of the mortuary on Main Street. Very nice looking townhomes. I believe anyways, and each of them have their own driveway. So you have your 2-car garage, and you actually have a driveway to park the cars that you can't fit in the garage because all the other junk's in there. I get real concerned, especially when you look at the T. The units that are facing Center Street and those end units there specifically, when I'm trying to back out and then come out, that's pretty tight. I have concerns on that. When I was asked initial on what would you accept on density, my off the top of the cuff was a dozen. And I don't know that that's changed in my own mind. 23 units on 1.1 acre is well over the 15 and a half per acre that we usually accept with density. And just because you have the 1.5 acre property total, I struggle with how that works in. I know there's some green space there, but there's not a lot. And you and I, we spoke on, you heard my concerns on some of that. There's concerns that I have not received a full answer on, but I've heard it from some of the residents here, on garbage. What I had down was snow removal. There's also the concern with signage. If I got a business there, how am I going to advertise to get people off of Main Street over to come? There's ways to do that, but I don't remember seeing that. I don't remember what it said. I remember there was a paragraph on signage. The angled parking, the residents, I have concerns on that with the winter parking, especially if that's where, if I can't get my car in the garage, then I'm going to be able to park there. Well, you can park there for 6 months out of the year, but not for the rest. I think the height of the buildings, I'm probably okay with that, just because I've seen the trees. You walk through the neighborhood and you see and walk through the property, and the established trees that are there will be a buffer for most folks looking. That's my opinion. You may disagree, but that is my opinion. And I think your plan on that, I'm okay with. I do appreciate the effort to keep the church. I felt your passion. I believe you. I don't think it's a crock. I mean, you're going to move into this neighborhood. You want to move into this neighborhood. I do believe that. But I also do believe that the selling price for the property is way over what you really need to be able to make it work. And you've said that yourself with what does it take to pencil? And in my opinion, the effort to keep the church standing and going forward does not outweigh a lot of the other concerns that I would have. Nate?
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for everyone for being here. And Jacob, thank you for being here and working with some of the residents and talking to all of us. Really appreciate your due diligence. With some of the developers that we've had come through over the years, we haven't had many that put in this much time to try to do the right project, so thanks for that. Right off the bat, I just really appreciate this council. I think we have a strong vested interest in the future of our city and making the right decisions up here. It can be really challenging to make the right decision sometimes, but we want a walkable city. We want more business downtown. We've been very focused on Main Street. We've held some town halls, we've held many open houses to try to get input from residents as to what type of Main Street they want. We're working with UDOT. So we have a lot of plans for this downtown area, and we want to keep the culture of Kaysville. We want to keep it safe. We want to minimize traffic, but also encourage the right businesses to come in to collect that tax base so we can keep property values low. And everyone sitting up on the stand, we have a very strong vested interest in this, whether it's John meeting with residents or Mike walking around Bountiful, their Main Street. I talked to Perry earlier, and he's been walking around different developments, and the mayor's been calling all of us, trying to gauge what we're feeling on it and trying to address our concerns. And I was talking to Perry earlier today, or Councilmember Oakes, and talking about a few things about this, and I asked him, I said, so do you know how the fire department feels about this one entrance in and out? And he said, well, I bet Councilmember Hunt has already reached out and asked that question. So I called Councilmember Hunt, and she said, yeah, I have an answer for you. Mm-hmm. And so just all of us on here, it's a privilege to be a part of this, and we want to make the right decision. But we hear all of you loud and clear, and this is a really interesting property because with the mixed-use development, we do want, ideally, it would be up to 30% commercial. But then I'm sitting here and I'm looking at that, and traffic is a concern, safety is a concern. If we were to have 30+% commercial on this property, that could potentially backfire to all the residents as far as traffic and safety. And so very mindful of that, but also we do need to increase our tax base. And this is this property, it kind of blends the residential into the downtown zone, the commercial. And so this mixed-use approach, right when I heard it, I wanted to be a yes right away because I like the mixed-use approach to these type of developments. But looking at this, it's been really challenging for me because I want to get to a yes. I think the fact that you want to save and preserve that church is fantastic. And that's a rich part of our history that would be so sad if we lost that. And as it's my opinion that we need to do everything we can to preserve that, but we can't force it. We have to let the free market come, and Jacob's really willing to do this. You put in a lot of thought and effort to this. I agree with my fellow council members. I think along Center Street, I would like to see more business space there. And I am concerned about each unit, counting each unit as a potential commercial space. I just don't think that's realistic. And so in my mind, I would like more commercial on the center portion, Center Street portion. I would like to see if we can incorporate driveways, some less units, and kind of blend into maybe a few of the units that do have that you've already designed in some small commercial spaces. And then I wouldn't mind seeing just straight up condominiums on the south side or kind of in the middle with that aren't counted towards that commercial space. I would love to have you go back and rework this. I don't want to be a no, just because I think you have been listening, and since the Planning Commission, you did make some changes, and you have indicated that you wanted to make some more changes, but you weren't allowed to before tonight. And so I would love to just kind of send you back to the drawing board and talk to more neighbors, but also come up maybe with a different concept and a different plan to see what would be workable with some less units. Looking at this, I think if you had 12 residential units, I can see how it would probably be hard to pencil out. But I think definitely 23 is too much. I love the look of the design look. I wish we could kind of pull that up.
Yeah, pull that up.
I think it's page 130-ish right there. Yeah, I love that look. And I think it really ties into downtown. And so I'm proud that you took the effort to do that. In the developmental agreement, you've indicated throughout the paperwork here that you intend to do a lot of things, but I would like to, if we allow you to go back and you kind of rework this, I would like to kind of look through that a little bit and make sure our development agreement is strong in some of these points. Councilmember Oaks, you brought up signage, kind of make sure we have the right type of signage for some of that. And so that's really all that I have to say. I appreciate everyone being here. As far as the fire chief and the fire department, it is within code to allow it as it is right now. And so I just want everyone to know that. But could it be better? Absolutely. And I think that's it for me. So thank you so much.
Okay. A lot of what I was going to say has already been said, so I'll try not to hash it out too much. But I've appreciated having the opportunity to go to resident meetings and to meet with the developer and to, take a walk around the property and go inside the church. That's like one of my bucket list items, and that was great. So it's been a good learning experience. Every parcel we look at is different, as has been brought up. I was on the Planning Commission when we worked on the mixed-use zone, and like Jake has brought up, the hope was to have a development that looks something like this. And with that, though, part of the reason why it's allowed to go over these things, as has been brought up, is that we are incentivizing the commercial by, potentially allowing increased density. If I'm correct, I think it is the zone in our zoning that allows the most density. Is that correct, Dan?
RM allows the most density of the residential zones.
So pretty close.
CC doesn't have a density, so there's no density limitation on CC.
Right.
So we went back down.
Yeah, if you'll wait just a minute, Jake, because we can't hear you, or people listening can't hear you, so if you want to hold that answer, that would be great.
Okay. So, but regardless, it still is, part of the reason was to incentivize putting that commercial in. And as I've looked at this lot and I've tried to figure out, I want that, I would love that, I love the way this looks, I think it could potentially provide a good transition into the neighborhood, especially if the commercial was kept only to center. And what kind of commercial might go there? If we're only going to put it in 5, it probably doesn't really matter. We're not trying to get the tax out of it at that point. We're mostly just going for looks. And, maybe that's what we want. Sorry, lost track of myself there for a sec. So where, we aren't necessarily wanting to put that much commercial in, I don't see incentivizing it with that much density. I agree with my fellow council members. It's a little bit too much for the area. Let's see. So I try to put some positive things in here. I like the idea of possibly adding a road on the Zion property like John mentioned. I think that could provide a lot of workarounds for the issues that have been brought up, and especially for traffic and safety. I think we could find a compromise that works. Like Councilmember Jackson, I would like to get to a point where we can say yes, and I usually like to leave a meeting with marching orders, so of course I can't speak for the whole council, but for me, the main suggestions would be to decrease the density. I don't know what that needs to be yet, only you know what's going to pencil, but bring us back something that's less, hopefully. And then I don't know what's going on with the traffic study, but I have some heartburn over the fact that we can't determine whether or not it includes the school traffic time. So if it doesn't, figure that out. If it does, get it endorsed or something so that we know. So with the decreased density, solve some of the green space and parking issues that we've talked about. We've talked about having the road punch through, make sure you talk to the neighbors. Yeah, I like that the development agreement allows for the church to be saved. I do think legally, while that could be enforced, it doesn't give us a lot of wiggle room. So I like if the townhomes were to go in first and then it was determined the church couldn't be saved, I would say that would probably be a breach of the contract. I mean, I'm not a lawyer, so don't take me. But I would assume that would be a breach of the contract, which would mean we would have to search for a remedy, and the remedies we have in that are not great. Like, oh, we're going to pull the zoning. Oh, well, they're already built. So I, like Councilmember Jackson said, maybe we can find a way to tighten that up. Yeah, overall, I would like to get to a yes. I would like to work with neighbors more to figure that out. So I guess since we've all kind of talked, I'm not sure the kind of motion that we could make if everyone's ready.
Let's let Jake come up for a little bit and answer some questions if you'd like to, or address some of the concerns, and then I have a couple questions, and then let's look for some sort of motion.
Mayor, can I also make just one POC real quick?
Sure.
Nick, I think that probably the neighbors would be curious. One of the things that we have in our rules is that if a development is brought, that it can't, and decline, that it can't be brought back for a year. However, tell us maybe what the rules are for bringing something back prior to the year mark.
Yeah, my understanding of the code is that you can't bring back a project that's substantially similar within a year. So, for example, if you brought it back in a couple of weeks with 3 units, I believe the city would process that. But if it's now 23 and he's going to bring back 22, there's not a bright line where that is, but we would generally evaluate that, and if it's substantially different enough, we would.
Substantially different. Okay. Thanks, Mayor.
Okay, so really the options for you, Jake, we do want you to come on up if you would like to clarify some things for us, but you could either withdraw your application and work on it. We could table the application and ask you to work on it if you decide you want to work on it. We could reject it or we could approve it. If we reject it, you do have a 12-month window, unless it's substantial, and I think the substantial is quite a bit of change in terms of what we've seen before. It would be you decrease it or you change the concept, you add some retail or commercial standalone buildings, and I think that would be probably more of a justification of a substantial change. So would you like to come up and address us before I go on my little summary? Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have anything in particular. I just clarified the CC zone. The reason we did the CC was because it was neighboring, and the CC zone with the R with the mixed use, there's no density. It's just based on parking. And so the mixed use, like an RM zone, is the 15 units per, or 15.5 units per acre, which we are under that. And the parking in the RM zone, you're only required to have 2 stalls, and we have 2.57 stalls under the current plans. So we're actually under the RM, the most dense residential zone, we're under that density. And then we have the additional commercial. So just to add some clarity, I know you're not going to vote it yes today at this point, so I'm not arguing that. I think for me, just to kind of set the table for where I'm at, if it changes from this, I have to go back and kind of renegotiate and work with the seller. And I think she understands that to a certain extent, like kind of the value is being set by what gets approved, and she understands that. I'd love to get to a yes as soon as I can for her sake. She's in the place where she really needs to sell it, and so I'd like to get there. So I think for me, we're happy to rework it. I don't know what she's going to do once I take it to her, but the more, I guess, directive you guys can give me of like, hey, if it's between this many units and this many units, if there's additional commercial,
Right.
the more direction you can give and then table it, or I can withdraw it with that direction and go rework it. I'm happy to do that. And then we'll see, I guess we'll see what the parishes say at that point, so.
Okay. Hey, honestly, appreciate your willingness to have these discussions and to be flexible. So, okay, so what we're hearing is obviously too dense. I've heard several times density would probably need to be cut at least in half from what you're proposing. When we created the mixed-use zone, Mike and others have talked about that, really the intention was we wanted some standalone commercial, and we wanted to also allow some housing, because usually they'll say, well, if you have commercial and you have sort of a shopping strip or something like that, you're going to have some doors in order to get those commercial retailers to come in and bring a commercial project. And so that is the concept that was really created in our minds under this. Now, I love these storefronts. I do, and I told you that. I love the fact that they look sort of colonial and they look like brownstones, and I love that idea. If you could do something like this along, Center Street, which was Center Street, and then behind it add some homes, I think it would be great. You do that, or you add some, you have these storefronts with some commercial space on the bottom that's big enough to actually have a storefront in it, because 300, 400 square feet, that really isn't a lot, and you know that. That's like a nail salon maybe, or I don't know, accounting office or something. But if you would build behind these some commercial, like retail spaces, that might be great. Now the neighbors might hate that. You might go, no, I actually didn't want an actual business there, like a boutique. And when I talk about business, I'm talking what I would love to see along this area as we develop Main Street is some cute boutiques, a baby store shop, or a bakery, or something that's quaint and fun and very small, but yet retail, so that we can have a reason to go downtown and we have a reason to shop. Mike mentioned a candy store. It's just something that's quaint like that. Mm-hmm. We're not expecting you or hoping that you get a Starbucks right there, because that's not going to work, and we understand that. But if there's a way for you to go back and negotiate and say, hey, could we, work with me on I don't know how that conversation will go. But I think that kind of a project would be a better fit here. Obviously, we love the fact that you want to save the church. Everyone here would love that, and it would be great. Maybe the church could be something different besides your house. I don't know. We're just throwing some ideas. So you're asking for actual direction. The direction that I'm hearing would be you would need to cut your density at least in half. And I think that would be a stretch even to really get people on board for that. And I don't know that would pencil. But maybe if you cut the density in half and then you had some retail pads, maybe a small one, maybe 2 small retail pads or something like that. I don't know how that could fit or what that would look like. Or maybe have 8 units, a couple strips of townhomes, and then you have some retail pads. Maybe that would be something that would maybe work. It would bring in additional traffic maybe during the day, but the biggest problem is on-street parking, because we don't allow it. So it's kind of hard when you tell people, no, you have to park in the street, and then we say, no, we're going to ticket your car because it's snowing. The development agreement also, I've looked through that, and what we're learning about development agreements is that we need to have more than intention in our development agreements that we approve. There needs to be requirements. So a couple of people mentioned, well, at what point do you have to build the church, and what if it doesn't pencil, or what if you sell it to somebody else, and then you guys decide, this is just a bigger money pit problem than we thought. I know it talks a lot about the church, but there's no timeline to require the building of a church. So you could say, well, yeah, it's in there and we'll build it maybe in, I don't know, maybe we'll repair it never. Maybe we'll repair it someday.
Yeah.
So we would like to see some specifics in that. If that is the purpose to approve a plan like this, I think that would be very important to put in. I think that we need to be more specific in terms of I love that you're trying to incorporate some work-live space, but that is an accounting company doesn't generate sales tax revenue. And really, that's the bottom line for us. We were looking for sales tax revenue, not services. And it seems like this work-live space would be for massage therapy or nails or hair or something like that that is more service-oriented. And so I guess for our approval and our intention is we're really trying to build up this Main Street area so that it creates that commercial opportunity for some retail sales. But I appreciate how hard you're working on this, and so I don't know if you're just like, oh my gosh, forget it. I totally get it.
I don't think it's forget it. I mean, going to 12 units means I'm telling them it's worth half of what they think it's worth.
Yeah.
Or a third of what it is. And then also, I mean, it's kind of like save the church, add commercial that doesn't have as much value as the housing.
Yeah.
And we want to support. I think Bountiful is a good example. I think there's good examples of the retail getting bigger. I think we can definitely do that. But they've probably put, 200 units of housing within the block right next to their Main Street, which is why it's active now and why people are supporting all the commercial and why there's lines out the door. It's because there's people there. So I think that's the balance, I guess, that I'm trying to weigh, and cutting the units in half. I can try, but I don't know where that goes. I mean.
Well, and I understand, and I do want people, residents to realize that, like it's been mentioned, and you guys have mentioned it, at some point this will get developed. And, we've got a great council, in my opinion, a perfect council, because very engaged, very willing to listen, but it will change. Perry's going to go on a mission. He's going to be leaving, so he's going to be gone. So not that new council members will be bad or anything, but just it does change the makeup. And so depending on when this project comes forward, you might get something very different. So I would encourage us to be able to, I'd love to see something get approved here. I really would. And I think that you are the right person with the right perspective and the right love for this area to put together something really awesome. Someone asked the question, well, what if you sell it to a builder to develop the townhomes? That's okay. The development agreement will follow the property. That's why we want to make sure that the development agreement is very solid. We want to be real specific. We want to make sure. I mean, a lot of this agreement says that the community development person will get to approve a reduction in parking, for example, or if there's a reduction in density. I would like to change that. I would like to make that something that comes back to the council so that we actually have some control over some of those things. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, other staff members, they're checking boxes where we're doing a different job. We just have different roles.
Yeah,
and so we want to make sure.
No,
I'm not saying you did, but I'm just saying, I'm sure this is just more of a template kind of thing. Yeah. But I'm just saying, I think that the council would like to have more discretion in terms of when it comes back, how it changes. We want some authority to be able to influence some of that change and approve it. So
Mayor,
anyone else? Yes.
I'm willing to make a motion because I see from the feelings what I'm seeing, the only way this is going to come back is if it has a substantial change to it.
Yeah.
Very substantial.
Can I, just for clarification?
Okay.
I understood that a change is necessary, but if it gets denied and I tried to come back, then the substantial change. But if you table it or if I withdraw it, then I can meet with you guys, tweak it, bring it back. I think I don't love ambiguity, and substantial change seems fairly ambiguous.
Yes, and that is your discretion. So if you would like to withdraw, go ahead and tell us.
Well, I mean, and what's the process after that? Do I have to go to planning commission again?
You would.
Yeah, the process would start totally over.
Or if you table it and say, can the council say, table it, take our feedback?
I'm not willing to table it. I think the neighbors deserve withdrawing is within your rights, but I think that the property owners should know that I would decline it. Okay. And that unless it's super substantial change, I'll most likely deny it as well. And so, but if you choose to take it off, that's totally your prerogative. Maybe after you do, we'll be able to say sort of what we would do or what we would have done to aid in that.
Go ahead, Councilmember Jackson.
I would actually prefer to table it because I do think it's very ambiguous, and it will just come before us again, and we have the ability to use our discretion at that time, whether it's substantive enough. So
here's a question, Nick. If it gets tabled, does it go back through Planning Commission?
Yes. So you could decide to do that. You could remand it back to the Planning Commission.
Okay.
You could say, we're going to table this. We're going to remand it back to the Planning Commission if you felt like that was something this body wanted to do, or you could keep it. It's been to the Planning Commission, so you could keep it here as well and just table it for your own self, for your own.
Okay.
Nick, sorry, Mayor.
Go ahead, yes.
If we table it with like instructions, say to work on the changes we've made, if it comes back on the agenda, is it allowed to look different? Like if, say, he agrees to lower the units, when he brings it back, does it have to be the same and we have to change it in that meeting, or like how does that work?
No, he could change it and bring it back based on the discussion tonight.
Okay.
Okay.
Mayor?
Yes.
I am vehemently against tabling this.
Okay.
I think that it's a disservice to the neighbors who have gone through 2 planning commission meetings and made the effort to come to this meeting for us to kick it down the road. I feel like what everybody has said on this board has been very much to the effect that they would deny this and would deny anything less than half. And so I think I can speak. My direction to staff would be that if it was half or even, if you reduced by 7 units, that would be enough change that they should look at it. But I won't approve it. But that if the ambiguity, if there's ambiguity, it would be, okay. It just needs to change. But I want my voice to be heard that I do not think tabling, I hate tabling.
I think this has gone through the neighborhoods long enough. I think there's been so much discussion, and I've had their own neighborhood meetings. They've talked amongst each other. This thing has gone on, and I'm against tabling it myself. I think it needs to come with some closure, and if it is substantially different than what is proposed, then it would be allowed to come back by our ordinances.
Okay.
Yes.
Councilmember Oaks, did you have a comment?
Can I just ask a clarifying question? Because I'm not opposed to changing it substantially. I guess the only reason I'm asking is for Rebecca's sake, to not have to go before the Planning Commission again, because they already approved twice the density that you guys will approve. And so that substantial change, I would imagine I'd be able to get through Planning Commission, but it just adds another month or 2 months to when I can close and start the project and then pay the parishes. So that's the only reason I would ask that I could have it tabled. I'm happy to do substantial change. I think that was very clear, and if that's where everyone sits, then I'm happy to go take that to them. I can have that conversation and see where it goes and make the substantial change. That's the only reason I would ask for it to be tabled. So then, and we can meet with the neighbors, we can meet with you, show a bunch of different options before we come back. But if I withdraw it, or if it gets denied and then I have to go to the Planning Commission again, it adds more time, which is, I mean, if that's what we need to do, we need to do it, but.
I appreciate that, and I think that we sorry, Mayor.
Oh, I was going to say, just to Mike's point and to your point, you're right. The neighborhood has been through a lot. They have been through 2 planning commissions, and then it's been a very long process. So how would you guys feel about someone making a motion to table it and only allow it to come back before us if there is a decrease in density of at least 50%?
I think there's more than just the density. There's the commercial aspect too. I mean,
Okay.
there's more than just the density that's
So you just
not-
want a completely new
There's
project?
the talk of the road. There's so much
There's
stuff.
so many things that.
Can I also make an argument with the road?
Yeah.
I don't own that land.
Right.
The city doesn't own that land.
Right,
So
so
it would
that's
be
why
hard
we're-
for, like, to hold up the parish's project because of what that bank might do. We could design it in a way that there's the potential for that in the future. Like we can add some more space on that side or do something, like there's a way to address that. But I don't control, nor do the parishes control that. So, I mean, and I think, again, I'm sort of arguing for the parishes. Like, I want to do this, but it doesn't, I mean, I have spent, just so you know, the traffic study, there was no prerogative. We just order the traffic study when we're told to order the traffic study. I don't control how they do it. I'm not the engineer. But it is like, it's like $10,000. So, like, those are, and that's a risk that I took, right, to go jump in and try to do this. But like, the parishes have owned this church and made $0 from it for 100 years. They've kept it as a gem that all of us here love. And so I think they're also your constituents and deserve to, like, at least see where this goes. And I think I'm not trying to punt it down the road. I'm saying, I get you're heard, the neighbors are heard. We'll go to them and make the changes, and we can address all of the things, the commercial and all of it. If you want to put that as a stipulation to it, happy to meet with you all again on site and show you different options and come up with the one that feels right. Happy to host the neighborhood if they want to come to the church and see a handful of options and look at it. But I don't understand why it would need to go before the planning commission again and have an additional meeting instead of just like, you guys are the ones who are going to decide. So if it's going to redevelop, then let's do it. And if it's not going to redevelop, then I got to figure out a way to get Rebecca a toilet at her house.
Mayor, since I brought up the road, may I address that?
Sure.
I think that, yeah, you're right. You don't own that. You don't own that property. But anytime that we are talking about a rezone, this is zoned ag. And if you were going to do something ag, it wouldn't even be here, right? We wouldn't even be looking at it because you would be fulfilling what the zone is. When there's a request for a rezone, it becomes a legislative issue. And so as a body, as a legislative body, we actually do get to consider things like the possibility of a road, even though it's not owned. And so, you know, while the parishes have rights, they have rights for ag right now. They don't have rights for residential. They don't have rights for anything other than ag. And until this body feels comfortable that maybe something that could benefit the whole city may not go in, I won't feel comfortable rezoning that property. And so I think that the idea, I get what you're saying, like we don't own the road, so you can't hinge it on that. Well, actually we can. We can say, there might be a road going in there, and so we're going to wait and see. And I get that that sucks for time, but it's kind of like why we're where we are, because we're having to plan and be responsible. And the last thing we would want to have happen is for them to say, oh yeah, we would totally build that road, but oh no, now we can't because we've already rezoned this. And so I do think it's pertinent.
Okay, appreciate your comments.
Mayor, can I say something?
Councilmember Hunt, go ahead.
I don't want to be argumentative. I think operationally tabling it versus having him withdraw, I mean, it's going to be the same thing to the neighbors. It's not that I don't respect the neighbors' time, but I feel like they're invested enough that if he were to withdraw and then bring it back, they'd be back at the meetings anyways. I almost feel like saying, hey, we're going to spend more time on it and look at it is more genuine to the process that we want to go through. We want to let the neighbors know we're thinking about this. We're slowing this process down. We want to get you involved, as opposed to, well, maybe it'll come back and maybe you'll see it when it does. I feel like this gives a little bit more of a definite, I don't know, path forward.
Okay, Councilmember Jackson, thank you.
I agree with Councilmember Hutt entirely, because I do think we have a responsibility as well to potential developers and landowners, as well as the people that will affect in the neighborhood. I just think it's the formality of having you deny just to have to pay all that money and go through the process again with Planning Commission, especially if the density is less. I hate to put it has to be 50% less. I don't want to do that either, because I want you to get creative, but I want to see a lot of changes. And so I agree with Councilmember Hunt. I would rather that we send you back to the drawing board, and that we're involved in the process as well with the city along that process.
See, I kind of disagree with that. And the reason I say that is because if we do deny it, it does have to go back through the Planning Commission. And it does give the neighbors a chance to have a public hearing and be heard again. If it just goes out and we table it and it goes out, you're right, it may come back, and we don't have public hearings usually at the city council. What we have is we give them 3 minutes to talk or whatever. But if we deny it, it's a substantially different, so it can come back in less than a year. Then it does go through the Planning Commission. Then it does have a public hearing, and it goes through that whole process. And to me, that there's enough change there that the neighbors should be able to put their voices in on it and be aware of what's going on. So that's where I'm at.
With all due respect,
additionally, the Planning Commission, I mean, what message are we sending to the Planning Commission that, like, yeah, go ahead, approve, whatever density you want. We don't like what you did, but we'll just take your carte blanche approval of density and we'll rework it. I mean, if anything, yeah, why have a Planning Commission at all? Just bring it straight here. I think that the idea here is that
No.
I think the idea here is that we are telling, in a sense, we're also directing the Planning Commission and saying, guys, you want this to come through with us, you got to look at this again.
It's really not our place to direct the Planning Commission.
If
we want them to be a separate body.
Direct, not, if I use the word direct, I remove that. Anne-Marie, remove it. Let it be known that I didn't mean to say direct, nor maybe let our feelings be heard. I would like to see the Planning Commission approve a project that is close to what we approve. If that's what I want. I don't want the Planning Commission to send us 100 units and then we tell them, no, bring it back at 50. Then it just destroys the whole plan, the process.
Okay, all right. So we've heard from everybody. Appreciate all your comments.
It's up to Jake.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jake, it's really up to you. If you want to withdraw, you can. If not, we'll make a motion.
I mean, it sounds like it's either going to get denied or I withdraw. I have to go to the Planning Commission either way unless enough vote to table it.
Would someone like to make a motion? We'll see where it goes.
I'll make a motion that we deny the request to rezone 1.6 acres of property to 80 Center Street from A1 light agricultural to CC Central Commercial with a mixed-use overlay for Jacob Williams.
I'll second. Oh,
okay.
Perry got it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Councilmember Jackson.
No.
Aye.
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 I mean, it doesn't really matter what I do. I mean, I don't want to say nay and then say that I'm okay with that density. So I guess I have to say aye because that's the position we're in.
I get it.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Jake.
You got this, though.
All right.
Can I request a bathroom break?
Sure. Okay, thank you, everyone. Please don't applause, but we will excuse you if you'd like to leave. You don't have to sit through the rest of the meeting. Okay. We will take a 5-minute break.
Allowed him to do that.
Yeah, but he was okay without. He was okay withdrawing, but.
What did you vote, Abby? I didn't even hear.
Nothing I say has any legal weight.
I didn't know this. I worked with their,
Well, I mean, there's two.
This council, unfortunately,
It's because you entrusted us to do what we do.
and you know what? If tonight is anything like what you guys do, Cheryl, you're thoughtful. Appreciate your insights. You know stuff that I don't even pretend to know.
That's why it's got gravity there.
That's just, and he's never right. Where's the fine line allowing something a little more high density?
All right, everybody. Our 5-minute break is over. So if we can reconvene our council members and excuse our visitors, that would be awesome. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. See ya.
We're sorry it went so long.
Have a good night. Oh, have a good night.
We're good. Got a
Bye.
mission call.
Thank you. See you.
What is your name?
Yes. Thank you. See you. Bye.
It's the Frankfurt mission.
Okay.
Frankfurt mission.
Are we all back?
We'll be at Spangdahlem Air Base.
I'm really happy that this control thing up here works now. Kind of, sometimes.
Jordan just texted me and said that he wasn't able to record any of Brian's things. So if he could come up and do that just one more time.
Brian's presentation.
I'll ask the same question.
Brian, what are you doing here?
Still has that.
Oh my gosh. Okay, let's get on with this. Sorry. Okay. All right. We're serious. We are back. Welcome to the rest of our city council meeting. We are on work item 7A, discussion of electric vehicle charging stations and rates. Brian. Please present.
All right. Thank you for having me back up here. So basically, we've had these EV charging stations for quite some time now. They were installed, managed, paid for by a grant that we'd had. We haven't received any bills from ChargePoint up until just barely. We received our very first one. It was always covered under the grant. That is one of the reasons that I'm assuming in the beginning that there was a discussion. I wasn't in this position, so I'm assuming there was a discussion that they would leave them free up until that point. At this point, we are now paying for people to charge for free.
No.
It's coming straight out of the city. So I feel like there are standards statewide that have already been kind of established. Mm-hmm. We are below those standards on my calculations. The average charging station right now in the state of Utah for level 2 is anywhere between 22 and 27 cents a kilowatt hour. I'm proposing 20 cents plus a $1.30 connection fee. That would be a minimum, not necessarily a connection fee, but a $1.30 minimum. So if they only used 80 cents of charging per their usage of kilowatt hour, they would still get charged $1.30. So if they just plugged it in for 15 minutes and left or something, they would still get charged that $1.30, and then the rate would be 20 cents a kilowatt hour. I factored into the cost of ChargePoint's software fees, annual software fees. They also take a cut of every charge. They'll take a cut and then they forward the rest on to us. Took that into account. Our power purchasing costs took that into account, and then I also took into account. I felt like the police are a public serving entity. They work for the city, and that their usages should also be something that is calculated into the usage costs of the residents that are using that. So I felt like that was appropriate, and that was a good direction to go. Once I calculated all of that in to what I assumed the usage would be. Right now, we don't really know. We don't have an accurate number to go off of on our usages because they're free. Mm-hmm. So I'm guessing that we will still have 70% of charging from what we are now free. We'll still get 70% usage, at least at our city parks. So that's kind of where I came up with those numbers, was 70% of the usage that we currently are seeing, with them being free charging stations. And then also to mention a couple dynamics to take into consideration. The parks close from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. It is standard. Cities that have charging stations in their parks, that the charging stations shut off during the hours that the park is closed, just to deter people from being there after hours when the park is closed. And so they would shut off during those hours. The only exception that I would maybe consider, that we would maybe want to consider, is the charging stations that are over here next to the splash pad. There's some businesses there, the library, but there's also some apartment complexes that are right there as well that kind of share the same parking lot area. So that one I feel like may be a consideration to the rule with the park, because that would be kind of a nice benefit to the people that live right there in the apartments. I don't know.
I would agree.
I
I like it. Yeah.
It doesn't matter one way or another to me.
Okay.
It still is, to me, it's in the park. The charging stations are a part of the park, and so to me it would close with the park, but that was a consideration that I thought of, that I thought maybe you guys could be aware of and be willing to discuss your thoughts on. So that's where I'm at with this. It's a work item because we've got to approve it to become an action item so that we can do a resolution to amend the fee schedule so we can implement all of this into our rates.
Does ChargePoint already have all the things in place for credit cards and all this stuff?
Yes. There's an app.
So the ones that they put in there. And then my second comment is that, I just got my daughter one, and we charged in Orem City Hall because we couldn't find another place for her to charge at the time. It was late at night. And so I personally think, the ones that are inside, like Barnes Park, like the ones that require you to kind of go into that parking lot, I think you turn those off. But the ones that are right there on I know which one you're talking about. I think we leave those on, and then I think we leave these City Hall ones on.
These ones here we'd leave on all
permanently, because I think that's like almost a way of saying to somebody driving through, if you need to, City Hall's a good spot to come and charge your car.
So one of my concerns is that I would like to see these things be able to generate enough profit in them that we can continue to add more in the city, because the demand for electric vehicles is getting bigger and bigger all the time, and we want them in more and more places. I don't see very many private, I don't see them going in the grocery stores. I don't see them going wherever, but we are a power company that we're trying not to put a burden onto our existing utility users, but we're trying to provide a service. And I see you're proposing about 7 cents a kilowatt hour less than what the other entities are charging. But I think we should be looking at making a profit so we can, we're not here to make a lot of money, but we're here to make it convenient. And I ran into a guy I heard a story. Guy showed up and says, "Do you know who's that car out there?" Well, nobody knew. He says, "Do you know who's that car out there?" No, we don't know. He says, "I only got 2 miles left. I need to plug into that charging station. I don't know where they are, and I need them to move their car." And I thought, man, this is going to be the future. So, the more that can be used on a 24-hour basis, the more that we can put in the city and make available, the better, because they're not going away, it sounds like. And I was hoping by doing that, too, the times of use would help take away maybe from the peak. So maybe some people would charge in the day early instead of at night when peak is so prevalent, or that second peak that's going to start coming from 11 to 4 in the morning as all these electric vehicles. So I would love to see a rate where you could figure that we're going to make enough money that we can make this an ongoing thing and add these in our city.
And this first year will be kind of this first year is going to be a learning curve. It's going to be where are we at the end of the year. But yes, according to the rate that I have brought to you today, if we want to be able to make in excess to add additional charging stations, it would need to be more than 20 cents a kilowatt hour. Another thing to take into consideration that I thought of that Mike made me think of right there is as well as a fixed rate plus a minimum fee, we would also like to implement an additional $2 an hour charge if your car is plugged in and it is registered that your battery is full and it's been on that charger for more than an hour, you will start paying an additional 2 hours an hour.
Why only 2?
I really like that.
That's just kind of the standard.
You do or you don't?
I like it.
Yeah.
That's,
I would have said,
that's a really good
5
idea.
or 10, just to make
I
it.
originally set 5 on my thing,
Yeah.
but then I started looking at other fee schedules and like Price City does too, Murray does too, and
Well,
so
we-
that's the only reason that I moved it to 2.
We could still do 5.
I personally felt like the higher, the better incentive to get your car off there.
Yeah.
Once it's full, you get a text message, hey,
Yeah.
your car's done charging.
The other thing I get concerned with too is I get the police thing, but when you start making exceptions, then everybody's going to give you a reason why they need an exception. I don't like exceptions for that reason.
Yeah.
Because everybody thinks their exception's better
That's a
than the
good
last.
point.
I think we apply it-
Do 27 cents, do $2. I like it.
I like the $5 if it's already fully charged, because I have an electric car and it is really annoying when you can't find a plug because someone's just hanging out.
And the purpose
'Cause
is to incentivize people to
Yes.
to unplug their car. And
$2
And-
isn't an incentive.
And they just like the parking spot because it's a great close-up parking spot to wherever they're going. So I would be in favor of a higher overcharge rate. And I think it should apply across the city to all the parking areas, even in the park. I think we should just charge everybody.
I have a question. I agree with you, Mayor and Councilmember Oaks. Charge more than $2 just to get incentivize people. But could we move some of the charging stations at Barnes over here just so that we have more online 24 hours?
No, we can't just move the charging station, but we could add charging stations once we've done like what Mike says. And I'm also kind of curious to see, you can charge your car at home for 10 cents a kilowatt hour,
Yes.
or you can come here and charge it for 27. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious to see the people. They're doing it now because it's free.
Right.
So I am curious to see where that lands. I don't think we're going to have. We're going to have people here using it, no doubt. But I don't think we're going to have the congestion problems immediately once we start charging. People are going to say, "Well, God, I can put one in my garage at this point." And
Yes.
so some of them will.
Well, I'm curious, what about at the operations center? Because I kind of hate the idea of having charging stations that are not usable all night when the vast majority of people that's when they'd be using them. And so we're really just not making as much money to cover the costs. I would love to look into that to see if we could possibly move maybe to the op center.
We have 2 of them at the op center right now, but they're not equipped for normal charging like these ones are. Okay. They're more for in-house employee use. If the city was to purchase, when we install them, the intent is that the city would get some electric vehicles for part of their fleet.
Yeah.
And that's what those were for. So they are there, but we don't.
Mostly
utilize
because
them.
one of our city managers had an electric car.
Yes. Yes. I did.
To Mike's point, would it make sense, or does ChargePoint do such a thing where they have the cost to charge during the day is less than, like, can they actually do specifics like that where?
Yeah.
Because like I wonder if like would it save us to have it be 20 cents until 5 o'clock and then everything after 5 is 27 cents?
Definitely. I think it would be very advantageous to do a time
Incentive.
of use type of structure even with our own charging stations. So during peak hours of the day, well, just from June to September when peak is a huge factor.
Yeah.
We would structure it so that
It's just
the
like
rate
gas.
the rate
Gas
would be
goes up
higher.
and down. Yeah. Okay.
So that's all stuff that we can definitely.
Is that good feedback for you? Do you know what the direction to take an ordinance or a rate schedule?
It's my first rodeo, so I.
Nick, do you have enough?
Yeah, I think we
Okay.
just need a motion to move it to an action item.
Okay, would
But I
someone-
think we have enough between
Miranda and you,
Ryan
okay.
and I.
I'll make a motion that we move the electric vehicle charging stations and rates to an action item.
Okay, Councilmember Oaks.
Second.
Oh, sorry, Councilmember
Yes,
Oaks.
yay. Aye, sorry.
Aye.
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 Okay, thank
Yay,
you.
aye.
Thank you, Brian. All right. Discussion of massage establishment ordinance.
So I'm waiting for Councilmember Adams to make the motion to put this into Jake's, sorry.
His development.
Too soon.
Okay.
If you wonder which massage parlor to go to, ask Chief.
Yeah. Okay, this has been on my mind for a while, so I can't wait for your presentation.
Mayor, could I just take a moment and
Yes.
introduce you to,
Oh, yes.
as counsel, to Katie Ellis?
Yes.
You recently approved her position as Assistant City Attorney. She's been an immediate asset to the city, to my department, but I've got feedback from a number of other departments about how incredible the work product that she's producing is and just what a delightful coworker and colleague she is. So I just wanted to extend my gratitude to you as a council for the assistance, but also introduce you to Katie. Katie graduated from BYU Law and Weber State University for her undergrad. She's a fantastic writer and was a newspaper reporter before going to law school. Since law school, she worked here as a fellow for about 9 months. BYU had a really interesting public interest fellowship program that she took advantage of. And then she's worked at Layton City and most recently at Ogden, and she brings a wealth of experience on code enforcement issues, land use, and we've benefited because she was actually in the process of drafting a very similar ordinance, this massage ordinance for Ogden. So I just wanted to thank you, and that's introduce Katie to you.
And Katie's daughter is her daughter is my intern, and she's darling. Lucy's adorable.
So many things. Yes.
Okay, take it
and
away.
I am a resident, so it's just really fun to be working with Nick again and to be close to home. So I'm really glad to be here. Mayor, Council, the reason I'm here tonight is to present an ordinance on business licensing for massage establishments. Shortly after I started, Chief Ellington came to me and asked if I had ideas for enforcement, and I was actually really excited because, as Nick said, it's something I've been working on for like the last year, and I've done some training and talked to other cities. And what I've learned is that if you make the business licensing process a little more rigorous, the illicit ones will usually go somewhere else where it's easier, but the legitimate businesses are willing to jump through a few extra hoops. And we want to do this now because business license renewals are coming up, and if we get it done now, we won't have to wait another year to implement it. Basically, this ordinance works hand in hand with the state. The state has just passed some amendments to their Massage Practice Act. They're going to be requiring every establishment to be registered with DOPL, every massage therapist to be licensed with DOPL. They'll be doing background checks. And what we want to do is just make sure that every business has that registration, has those licenses, that they're keeping them on the wall. Anytime an employee changes, they're letting us know about the change. In addition to that, we want to implement hours of operation, a dress code, an affidavit that a property owner needs to sign saying they're aware that a massage business is there and that they can be responsible for any illegal activity. In addition to that, we've tweaked the appeals process a little bit. A big part of the ordinance is being able to revoke the business license, and anytime you do that, the business owner has a right to a hearing, and I wanted to make sure that was consistent with other parts of our code that allow a hearing to go to an administrative law judge. So we made a few changes to that. This isn't going to affect a lot of businesses in the city. We've said in the ordinance that if you are exempt from the state code, you will also be exempt from our ordinance. And they exempt sole practitioners and anyone who's associated with a medical office. Mindy has estimated that about 5 businesses in the city will be affected. In addition to all of that, we are also presenting a resolution with a fee increase for these business licenses because they are going to take more administrative time to process. We're proposing $150 for the massage establishment license and a $10 fee for the identification cards that will be required. So with that, I'm happy to take questions. Lieutenant Thompson is here for any questions about enforcement, if you have any.
I do have one question. Does some of this enforcement fall on the landowner, property owner, or is this all on the business?
We are requiring the property owner to sign an affidavit saying that they can be responsible for any activity taking place. So I think their part of it would be probably more on the criminal side. The business owner would be the one going through like business license revocation hearings and any civil processes.
And do we have any additional information regarding living on site, or what was it called? Like residing in the business?
Are you talking about, like, is that
Yeah.
happening, or are
Well,
we,
well, no,
are
I'm
we
just saying, are we
regulating it?
strengthening our
Yes.
ordinance so that people can't live there?
Yeah, there is a section about like, there can't be anything that indicates
That they are living
that
there?
they're living there, any
Okay.
like bedding or.
Yeah, okay.
I'm trying to find that section, but it is in here
It
somewhere.
isn't, okay.
Yeah.
I'm curious how these is, because, yeah, Chief told me, he's like, hey, avoid this one, because I'm a sucker for a massage. Like, I love massages. But he's like, ooh, I'd be careful. We have cameras. We're watching this one, and all these things have happened. And I'm like, how? How is that business, like, how are they not run out of town? I guess I'm curious how that...
It's been super shocking to me over the last years. I've been learning about this. I'm like, how is this happening in almost every community in the state? Like, how is this still a thing?
Yeah,
It's a
so
thing.
they catch them doing it, and then do they not get shut down? Do they not, like...
The enforcement is actually really tricky because we have a prostitution statute, but really they're the victims. So it's hard to prosecute the therapists because they're victims of sex trafficking and all of the, like, maybe Lieutenant Thompson would be better to answer this, but a lot of it is a federal crime. So for cities, like, the most effective tool we have is the business license.
Try to catch
Wow.
them before it starts.
These would not be allowed as home occupations, right?
No,
No.
this isn't a, this
No,
is
these
in
are
commercial
established,
space.
like...
Yeah.
So it
established
would
spaces.
not, so under our home occupation licenses, we would never allow this as a home occupation. Is that correct or
No,
no?
we do. We have in-home massage.
They would be exempt from our ordinance. Sole practitioners are exempt.
Oh, so if they were somebody, they wouldn't have to get a license in a
Well, they would
neighborhood?
have to be licensed with DOPL, and they would have to get a home occupation license through us, and we would make sure they have their DOPL license, but they wouldn't have to go through this rigorous of a process.
So they could have one in a
But I
home.
mean, I go to one of them.
I think so.
Yeah, you can have a sole practitioner, my understanding is you can be a sole practitioner massage establishment in your home, meaning I live at the home, I can do massages there. That's not where we're seeing the trafficking issues, and I'll let these two speak to that maybe more if they want to, but what we're seeing is people will come in, they'll find organized crime units, usually out of Southeast Asia, will come in, they'll find municipalities that have vague ordinances, and then they bring workers in, and then as soon as these workers get cited or arrested or whatever, they will literally move those people overnight. They often don't have passports. They have passports, but they're being held by the people that are trafficking them,
They
and
just
they'll move.
disappear.
And so these ordinances are designed to prevent these establishments from even being open.
Having a house to live in.
Yeah,
Having a
exactly,
place to-
exactly.
yeah.
And so in order to prosecute them, they're really hard because as soon as we cite them, the people end up in Kansas City, Missouri, or San Francisco, or whatever, and we'll never see those.
No responsibility lies upon the owner of the building or the...
Under the current prostitution statute, Utah code, no, because unless you can establish that owner
There's
is
a connection, yeah.
aware and there's some kind of like RICO organized crime type investigation, it's very difficult. And often we don't get enough information from the massage therapist before they're gone.
Right.
They get bailed out of jail and they're gone. That's the last we see them.
Wow.
Sorry to hijack
But
your presentation.
before you start, we are hitting 10 o'clock. So do you think, Jason, that we'll go past 10 o'clock with your presentation? You don't think so?
Not if you quit.
Okay, all right. Take it away. Sure.
Do you have
Yes.
any specific questions for me, or?
Tell us some stories.
Okay, let's go till, we'll be going till 11.
Yeah, I've got stories, yeah. Are there
Wow.
specific questions you have about what we're dealing with, or what we're seeing?
Just kind of want to hear your perspective.
So this definitely gives us more teeth. It gives us more options, and so a part of the ordinance too. It actually is holding the landowner or the landlord responsible too. Because if I remember correctly, if we do have a problem with one of their establishments of these massage parlors, and they're found in violation and they revoke the license, I believe they cannot have one again for 3 years. I think. And so,
That's
so
good.
it gives us more teeth, and it's, you know, we have the legitimate businesses and then we have the illegitimate ones, and this is what we're trying to focus on, so.
I'll make a motion that we approve the work item and move it to an action item.
I'll second.
Okay. Councilmember Blackham.
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you for that. I appreciate that, Katie. I appreciate that, Officer. And this has been like a 2-year ask, so seriously appreciate you getting on that and getting that put together. I know it takes a lot of time and research. Okay, moving on. Reports. Anyone?
Oh, Mayor, can I say
Yes.
something? Okay, so for CTC, and I've been seeing this in the news lately, which is why I'm bringing it up, for Communities That Care, our drug prevention coalition that works within the community. We've talked a lot about a substance called kratom, and the legislature's finally taking a look at it. So just, I mean, I don't know. Don't let your family take kratom. You can buy it at gas stations. Like, keep an eye on what your family's doing. You know, they'll say, oh, it's herbal, but pay attention to what you're doing. Help your family members out. I guess that's what I want to share. And then the PD is doing their trunk or treat on the 29th, I believe. So those are my 2 things.
Okay, Councilmember.
Oh, yeah, okay. I'll do it.
Yes.
I'll go.
Okay.
So recently, as a city, we went down to the state capitol, and we recognize Officer Jared Jensen's wife and 2 children and family, and we had our police down there, and the House of Representatives in the state of Utah, the state Senate, both recognized the family, and it was a really special moment to be down there with our council and Jason, our city manager, our police, and so I just want to mention that.
Thank you. Representative Ariel DeFay and Representative Karen Peterson put that together, and so that was very, very, very nice and very special for the family. So wanted to give them a shout out. Anyone else have anything to report? Okay, Jason.
So, Mayor, Council, I just wanted to revisit your favorite subject, the budget, one more time. This was kind of where we left off the last meeting when we had the discussion on the truth in taxation denial and kind of where we stand. And I just wanted to take a minute to clarify this again and make sure I'm clear on where we stand. But right now, like we said last time, even with the denial of the truth in taxation, we have enough money in our fund balance to get us through this year. But at that point, we're at the end of the road with the fund balance, and we would be projecting around $4.1 to $4.2 million, which is right at the threshold that the GFOA minimum threshold they expect of cities for best practices. So we've, over the last few years, continued to draw on the general fund. We took 1.1 million out of it. Sorry, the general fund balance. We took 1.1 million out of the fund balance last year. This year, we had originally budgeted 950,000 out of the fund balance, and then due to the truth in taxation denial, we're taking an additional 1.4-ish out of there. So, again, that's what's getting us down. The thing I want to kind of gauge the council on is all of this stuff that we're drawing from the fund balance on is stuff that's going to come back year after year. This isn't like most of it's not just one-time stuff. We're going to see next year the same stuff that was approved this year. Much of that is personnel expense. It's ongoing operating costs that have kind of gone up with inflation. And so I guess my question to the council is the council feeling that we would go back and start with approving the same truth in taxation amount that we approved this year as something we do next year? Because if not, I think we're in the position of how are we going to continue to fund what we've already committed to?
And we only have 2 minutes.
Sorry, and I think I'm going to go over.
Okay, so
maybe just by a minute or
let's
two.
make a motion then, don't we have to?
I'll make a motion to continue the meeting past 10 o'clock.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Thank you. So if there's not a comfort level that we're committed to approving and continuing to approve what we've already, said yes to this year, then I think we need to go back and start looking at, all right, what do we want to start cutting out now? Will we have the time to? And I would certainly put up, the gymnasium, for example, for sure, would be one of those items. A lot of recreation programs. I think going forward, that's a different thing. Like if we're looking at, hey, next year we're not going to do as much of this or that, that's fine. But I just want to make sure, do we have commitment on what we've already approved? And because that's just going to require, frankly, doing at least the same amount of truth and taxation next year just to keep the base level of what's been approved. Because again, we don't even have fund balance to turn back to like we have in the past. So, and I guess what I'm ultimately getting to is if there's questions or desire to really get into this, I think it would take a special work session. And so that's kind of what I'm asking right now is there an interest in having a work session to dive into some of this stuff, or are you comfortable with saying, yeah, we're still committed to what we've already approved for this year?
I think we should have a work session.
I mean, I like the idea of having a work session because, I was not comfortable with the budget. But, in a roundabout way, this does exactly what I was trying to get at. This softens the blow by not increasing the taxes this year, but increasing the rates of other things. And it prolongs the increasing of taxes to the next year, which I was all in agreement with it, most of it, until it got to be too much. Well, this is doing exactly what I'd asked, was to soften the blow rather than hitting them all at once. Let's do it in increments, and I think that's what this does. My feelings are I'm more comfortable now. I mean, I'm sorry that it didn't work out the way that everybody else wanted it to work out, I guess. And Tammy told me not to smile.
You're not sorry.
No, I'm not sorry.
Okay.
Tammy told me not to smile about it. Or the mayor, sorry, told me not to smile about it. But when it got to be too much for me, it was just too much. But now breaking down the increment over what we talked about, what I thought we had talked about, it makes it easier for me.
And if I can hop on, but that ends up becoming the starting point. Where we thought it was going to be ends up being the starting point. Mm-hmm. And depending on what happens over the budget year, this coming year, it might have to increase a little bit. That's how I would understand it.
I would say that whatever the cost of living, what they call it, the COLA or whatever cost of living increases would probably have to be added to that.
Or whatever other spending you all decide.
Whatever, but I also want to reiterate that I think it's very critical that all the departments and department heads come in within their budget this year. That they don't overspend their budgets, which we have done in the past, and we've had to make up for it. I think it's really important that they see that we've had an issue, and they do come in at their budgets and not over. Because we got those covered. We're going to cover those. But
would it be appropriate to add a small section to the November 5th meeting, or no?
I would wonder so there's a lot of projects that are ongoing right now that we're starting to spend a lot of money on that I'd want to cut off immediately.
I wouldn't cut it.
One of those, frankly, is the gymnasium. That's a big question that I have right now, is if that's going to be affected. We don't want the school district to continue to spend, frankly, hundreds of thousands that they've put into architects and engineering for this facility if it's not going to happen. There's also a lot of park projects. I've told Cole to pause on basically everything from the cremation garden, the cemetery, to different park improvement and maintenance projects until we know if we've got that money to spend. So I think we can hold a little bit, but certainly the sooner the better. I know at one point we were looking at an October 22nd strategic plan work session, which would be next Wednesday. I don't think that worked for everybody, but that's one date next week we could potentially use. November 5th is about 3 weeks away almost. So,
well, I guess straw poll. Maybe we could straw poll it just to get an idea. Councilmember Blackham. Sounds like you might be okay with a budget increase next year, equal to what we did this year, plus COLA.
And Mayor, if I may, I just want to clarify, when I say kind of baseline, I think what we look at is, let's just pretend like next year there has been no inflation, there's zero COLA for employees, nothing has impacted the cost of all of our operating expenses. then we're looking at probably $2.4 million or something like that is what we're drawing from this year on the fund balance. That does not even include the gymnasium, by the way. So I think we'd be looking at least a $2.4 million increase, even if there was zero inflation or COLA or any other movement. So it's a pretty substantial cost.
Well, okay, so we need a meeting. Okay,
yeah.
Pretty much we want a meeting, right? Okay, it sounds like October 22nd doesn't work for people, so maybe we can come up with a different day and do a work session. You guys okay with that? Okay.
Sorry, you want to throw out some various dates right now and just have people open their calendars?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sure. The 23rd, 24th, or 25th 25th Saturday, but those would work for me, and I'm out of country the following week.
What was wrong with the November 5th date you threw out?
You want
It just
sooner.
Too late.
3 weeks away almost, yeah.
Oh.
I was wondering if next week, if there's any day next week that would work.
I know we've had some reservations about Fridays, but Fridays are really good for me. That would be the 24th.
Okay.
What about Wednesday the 22nd?
It's
Didn't we decide we
and
couldn't
maybe,
do that?
and don't, maybe it's, for me, it's my daughter's last night in town.
How much time do you need? How much time are you thinking?
I'd say block out 2 hours to be safe.
I mean,
yeah.
what about tomorrow morning?
What's
but it's fall break.
I ain't going tomorrow morning.
I would have to notice it, and I don't have 24 hours.
Oh, okay. How about...
Sounds like a you problem.
How about Monday the 20th?
Well,
Does that give you 24 hours? That does.
I can only do it in the evening.
Yeah, in the evening, Monday the 20th.
It would have to be at least 6:30.
So 7 o'clock?
I mean, I could get here by 6:30.
Could you get here by 6:30?
That works. I'm also available the 24th
I
and
could do
Friday.
it then. Does that work for everybody else?
Monday the 20th?
Yeah.
I'm good.
7 o'clock or 6:45?
Yeah.
Giving
Giving Abby an extra 10 minutes. Mhm.
Yeah. Is that, what do you think, 7 or 6:45, Abby?
Abby?
6:45 would be fine.
Okay. Who's making dinner?
We'll have eaten long before.
Lee?
Lee will make dinner.
Good.
Lee will make a roast and potatoes and bring Sunday dinner for us. Would that be great?
Yeah, I'll stay till 10. All right, I'm putting it on my calendar. Sound good?
Great. 6:45 on this Monday.
Yep.
Monday the
Thank
20th.
you.
Okay.
Perfect. That's all. Actually, and then, yes, we'll have our November 5th strategic planning meeting still, 7 to 9:30-ish.
Okay.
That's all, Mayor. Thanks.
Okay, all right. Is that it? Okay.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
I want to keep going.
Well,
Oh, Perry.